Hello, everybody. We're here with Jim for the first time ever.
Hello.
It's crazy. I'm still shocked that no one really ever approached you. Like, with any retrospective series or anything. I hope he sounds good. I turned him up pretty loud. So just say something in the chat if he does not sound like okay.
Yeah, testing one, two, three. Yeah, these games didn't seem to be, still beloved, but I was surprised on Discord there was tons of fans.
Yeah, there's a lot
And
of people
then
that love Twisted Metal 3 and 4. Like, so many people. I was shocked myself too, honestly.
yeah, well, there's people that like when they started playing PlayStation games. I guess that's when Twisted Metal 3 and 4 came out. So I guess that's what they got under the Christmas tree. So they had no idea of Twisted Metal 1 and 2. So this was their Twisted Metal 1 and 2, I guess.
Possibly.
Yeah.
Does he sound good? Like, everyone can hear him? Like, says he sounds good.
Cool.
As long as people can hear him and he's like loud and clear. Just want to
Yeah.
make sure. Or I hope he's not too. I turned him up pretty like to the maximum to meet me. So hopefully he sounds the same.
Cool.
Hope. Yeah, there's people that love Twisted Metal 3 and 4. I'm sure it was definitely popular. Like, Twisted Metal 3, I think. Do you have the sales numbers for 3? Because Jaffe said it sold more than 2, I believe.
At the time it did. I remember looking at these numbers earlier in the year. I think Wikipedia has numbers, but I'm not sure how much I believe them. Let's see. Where did this say?
Yeah, because I find a lot of numbers that are not the same. Like, some sites are like Twisted Metal Black sold the most, and then Jaffe said Twisted Metal 2 sold more than Black. Then other people say Twisted Metal 3 and 4 sold terribly. Then Jaffe's also said 3 sold the most. So it's like, I don't know what to believe with the sales figures.
When I was at Sony for my second time in 03 to 05, at that time when PSP was starting to be a thing we were working on, the Twisted Metal Head-On guys, they were going to be coming over specifically to my office because I had one of the only dev kits in North America. So I was exchanging emails with Randy Zorko and Campbell there, and I can't remember one of them. One of them said that they respected our numbers. Like they were like, man, we wish we got those kinds of numbers on Twisted Metal 1 and 2. So that was kind of cool to get some props from the OG people.
Yeah, because I mean, it definitely rode off the success of Twisted Metal 2 for sure. Like, people just saw a third one was coming, so they're like, oh, I gotta buy it. And 100%.
Well, that, and I know that they specifically, like, to help with that, had the design of just Sweet Tooth's face on the cover.
Yes.
As a means of, like, you see that's going to stick out on the shelf at GameStop or whatever, right? And you're going to see that and be like, whoa, what's going on there? Why is, what is it? First off, if you don't know Twisted Metal, you're going to be like, what is this crazy huge clown face on a game? What is this about? Or if you do know Twisted Metal, why is Sweet Tooth dominating the cover?
So okay, so that's why his face is so big on the 3 and 4. Like, that's just why his face is so massive.
That was a specific marketing decision for that reason.
Okay, so what about the design? Like, because I think it's probably the most ridiculed design of Sweet Tooth. I'm pretty sure. Like, I know a lot of people do not like it, like, especially on the truck and in game. Like, on the article I sent you. You can see his face.
Twisted 3, the Sweet Tooth on Twisted 3.
You can see his face in there.
So, I know that the in-game car, the model on top of the truck, was just a scan of the painting that Darren Fuller had made. Darren Fuller being the artist that painted all the paintings, in the character selection screen. Why Darren used, like, kind of a realistic looking clown, just a guy that almost looks like a clown that could show up at a birthday party with minimal makeup. I'm not sure why that, actually. I don't know if that was just sort of his own self art direction, or if somebody said, hey, let's do blah. That I'm not sure. But yeah, as for people listening, Darren and I had offices next to each other, so he and I were in each other's offices every day. So I was there for most of the moments that he was painting these paintings. So I saw them when they were just being started and when they were being finished. I know the inspirations for a good number of them, but not all of them.
Okay, because the Sweet Tooth doesn't look very good in Twisted Metal 3. I don't think that's a secret. What do you think about it? Do you think it looks bad compared to the other ones?
I mean, it just looks realistic, but I do like the more demonic looking ones, the more stylistic ones.
Like
I definitely prefer that.
Sweet Tooth,
Black
or like
is
the
cool.
TV show, kind of.
Even
like
the TV show is, a nice stylized one. Yeah, I don't specifically like the Twisted Metal 3 look for the clown myself.
Yeah, it's
Sorry, Darren.
Something. Yeah. So I actually wanted to talk about these pictures, the characters, because we briefly talked about it earlier, but I want to do a rundown of these characters and where these designs came from.
Sure. Yeah.
So I'm gonna start at the beginning with these characters since they're all alphabetized. So
yeah.
With Augur.
I think that was meant to be Chuck Norris. I mean, it has a Chuck Norris face. He has a built body. I think he took inspiration from Chuck Norris with that one.
I mean, it was the 90s, so like it was all Chuck Norris stuff back then. Like,
oh, we were all huge Chuck Norris fans. I still am. I mean, I wasn't watching his TV show Texas Walker or whatever what that was called, but the 80s karate movies he was in, those were awesome. I mean, now they're probably cheese, but at the time, for teenage Jim Buck, it was pretty badass.
Yeah, of course. Oops, hang on, let me open up this picture just to show it on stream here on the screen so everyone can see what I am looking at currently, which I'm hoping it will actually show up. I hope.
Yeah, I see it there.
Okay, so Axel.
I just assumed it was probably just a version of the previous one. I don't know if he had specific inspiration for that one.
Yeah, because it was just coming from the previous game, so.
Yeah.
What are you really gonna do?
Yeah.
Okay, and what about Club Kid?
So Club Kid is literally one of the artists on the team, Barry Pringle. Barry Pringle was a very awesome 3D artist. But I think he was also into this kind of club music, and probably the idea of Club Kid maybe came from Barry. So when Darren painted the character, I mean that is literally Barry's face at that time. That is just 100%.
And his hairstyle and everything. Did he wear clothes like that too?
No, not at all. And he was not wearing headphones or anything like that. He did not look like some crazy DJ. He looked pretty normal guy, but that is his face.
So do you think Barry came up with the character design?
I would guess probably. I mean, the idea of a Club Kid, I would think probably came from Barry. It would make sense to me. And he also, I'm sure, did the car, and I know he did the hidden Club Kid house level, whatever that was, like the disco thing.
It was just Club Kid's house. That's all it was called.
Yeah, that was his total implementation and design. He figured out how to get the like, we were shocked when he had that ball working with the lights on the walls and stuff. Like,
oh, was that cool back then? Like, was that just like a cool?
I mean, well, it was a type of thing where you implement systems in a game engine, and then a designer or artist goes and does something and shows you what they did, and you're like, I know the code, but how the hell did you even do that? Like, that you're often surprised by the people that are using your technology to implement something, because they figure out some way of doing something that you had no idea about could be done using your code, basically.
Of course.
Yeah.
All right, and then with Firestarter.
So Firestarter is inspired by the Prodigy, the band, the Prodigy singer, and they have a song called Firestarter. So the hair kind of wiggy out like that is that guy.
Interesting. The Prodigy lead singer.
Yep.
Flower Power, because this obviously is not the finished version. Or the release version, I should say.
So I don't recall this image. The fact that it looks basically the same style as the others leads me to think Darren probably painted an early version of it. And there was also an early version of the car. Like it started out as an actual Volkswagen Beetle, and then obviously changed because we were worried about lawyers, or maybe they actually told us cease and desist, do not go with your Volkswagen idea at all.
Yeah, there's a lot of that in the early builds of Twisted Metal 3. I noticed, but
Yeah. So this flower power is obviously very flower child looking 60s. There may have been a decision later on, nah, we want her to look badass, and hence the version that shipped. So I'm not saying that's definitely what happened, but I would probably put some money on that because that would make a lot of sense, how that came about. So I'm guessing that's what happened with this. And this article we figured out came out August '98, so a few months before the game shipped. So at the time that this, well, in the article came out in August '98, which meant they wrote it and put it together possibly even months before. So I could totally see between when they had the information they had and when we shipped, we created a new painting entirely.
yeah, I mean, obviously you're most fond of the launch one.
Yeah,
because you were
well,
the one that created the cheat. That was your idea.
Well, I said to Darren, like, Darren, did you really paint panties? Like, what? And I say, it would be funny if we had a code. And so I implemented the code to just sort of zoom in on the part that Darren had at least spent a little bit of time on.
Oh, I thought he added it because of you. So he already drew the
yeah,
we'll just call it the lady area. And
yeah, sexy and badass. So part of sexy is short skirt and all that. No, he didn't add that. I gave no art direction to that guy, no way. But when I saw the painting, I'm like, we have to have a cheat code. We just have to do it because PlayStation's very low resolution, so the zoomed out picture, that area is like 1 pixel. At least when we zoom,
yeah, you can't really notice it anyways. It's not like, even if you use the cheat, it's not like that egregious. So it's like
it went from 1 pixel to 3 pixels or something,
Yeah, of course. And what about Granny?
Granny, I don't know.
Granny Dread.
I'm gonna guess he probably, because he was using magazines for some source. Maybe he found some angry looking grandma in an ad magazine. I don't know. I don't specifically remember this one, or maybe I'm not sure if this was it, but I kind of wonder. There was that commercial from the '80s with that lady. Where's the beef? I think was it a Burger King commercial or something? This old lady became famous for this commercial. I wonder if she is a little bit inside of this character here.
I mean, possibly, because a lot of people thought it was, because I think it was Twisted Metal 2 was supposed to have a character. I think it was called Granny Dread. That was supposed to drive Darkseid.
Ah, all right, then maybe there's something there to that.
I think,
okay.
I thought that was it, and I thought that's where the name came from. Because like maybe someone may have heard it from Single Track and we're like, oh, we're just going to put it in the game, but put it in the Hammerhead instead.
That could be. Yeah, I played a lot of Twisted Metal 1. I didn't play any of Twisted Metal 2 by that time. So I did not know the lore as much as maybe some of the other team members did. So that could totally be the case.
Yeah, because a lot of people are saying it was Wendy's. A Wendy's commercial.
Wendy's, that's right. Okay, right. Yep. That was right.
And then for the people that don't know, Mr. Grimm.
Skeletor from He-Man, yeah. The movie, the cheesy movie that had God, what's his name? He was the Russian boxer in Rocky IV. He played He-Man in the movie where this was Skeletor, basically.
Dolph Lundgren, was it?
That was it. Yep.
He played Ivan in Rocky
Ivan
IV.
Drago.
Yes, the Russian boxer, yeah.
Yeah.
So, and that's it. That's just all. Mr. Grimm was literally Skeletor. Okay. So then we go down the next one here. Warthog.
So I think that this is the guy from Scrubs. He's got kind of the receding hairline, the curly hair, pretty tall guy. He may have been in Platoon, so I kind of wonder if that's why he thought to paint this guy. Because I always told Darren that this looked like there's this, I think either Austrian or German actor called Jurgen Prochnow. He was also kind of a staple of the 80s in various, I think, military pictures and stuff like that. He kind of looked like that for me, and Darren did not know who this guy was until he, I was going to say Googled it, but that wasn't,
Yeah.
what did we do at the time? We Alta Visted it, I think, at the
Yeah.
time.
I don't know what you guys are using as a search engine. I forget when Google even came. I don't know when it actually launched. I think it was
Early
99 when it launched.
2000s? Was it
I think
99?
I think it was late 90s that Google launched, I think.
Okay. Yeah, I was
So
using
maybe you
Alta
did
Vista when I was at Sony.
at least for TM4.
Yeah.
So
So yeah, yeah, I think it's that Scrubs dude.
I mean, I guess I can kind of see it. It does look similar, so
Yeah,
like at least in the facial region.
yeah.
So then we have Minion as with the Calypso concept art.
Yeah, I do not recognize this art. I almost wonder if the magazine threw that art in
Like,
there.
did they?
This
Do you know if the Minion concept was done, like the demon, at this time?
at the time that these guys were given the information for this article, I would say almost certainly not, because this would have been early on. Like if this article came out in August, maybe they were talking to key people on our team in June. I don't know. I don't know how magazines need a lot of lead time. Could have even been prior to June, like May. So I would say probably not at that point.
So I wonder why they even
it,
put it there. Then I don't know.
yeah, I'm gonna say that demonic minion painting may have been the last one that Darren had done, if I had to guess.
So with this concept of Calypso, like do you remember ever seeing this?
No,
Just like this drawing?
no, I do not recognize this drawing at all. I don't think that was done by our team, if I had to guess.
So maybe they just put in a placeholder because you guys weren't done, or Darren wasn't done with the picture yet of Minion.
Yeah, that's
so
why
that
I
must be
wonder
what
if
this
the
is.
magazine did that, or maybe somebody did a quick sketch from our team and, all right, here, use this. We only, here's our 1 day drawing for you to put in your magazine.
Yeah. I mean,
Something like that.
I definitely probably misled people back then, thinking that Calypso was driving this car. Most likely,
Yeah,
because they had no way to look it
Yeah.
up and see if it was real. So
Yeah,
they just had to go with
totally.
what they saw. Then we have Outlaw
Definitely.
3.
So that is literally Darren and his wife. So the guy that painted all these paintings, that is him on the right, and that's his well, now ex-wife on the left. Um, and I kind of want to say, I've only seen the first 2 episodes of the TV series, but the guy that they got as the cop in there sort of looks like they were going for this version of Outlaw. I'm not sure. Is there
I
is
don't.
there another version of Outlaw from the other Twisted Metal games that looks closer to the cop in the TV series?
Probably the head-on ones, I would say. They
Yeah.
that's what at least the characters look like. So
Mhm.
that's the only
Okay.
guess I have, because I'm not. I mean, if Jamie was blonde, then maybe,
Mhm.
but in the show she's not. So
Yeah. Huh. Okay.
then Roadkill.
Roadkill. So that was our production assistant, Cabin Bunting. He's sometimes posting on the Facebook group for one of the Twisted Metal fan groups.
So
But
this guy's still active around in the Twisted Metal world, or at least on Facebook.
I mean, he's not doing. I mean, he's just sort of somebody will make a post asking, "Hey, why is this in Twisted Metal 3?" And he'll respond to what he recalls from it. And
Oh,
he looked like this at the time. I mean, other than the homeless look in this, he totally had this long hair, heavy metal look. He's a drummer in heavy metal bands, so this was a pretty accurate depiction of him. And I kind of remember, like, the full picture is this guy holding a broken bottle, right?
I believe so. I
If I
believe he's
recall,
holding a broken
I
bottle.
think they actually had him standing in this position, maybe even wearing a coat and holding maybe not a broken bottle, but a bottle, just to get sort of the general uh, overall picture down of him.
Yeah, to get a sketch of him and then just put it in the game.
Yeah,
I mean, I guess so. I mean, it worked.
yeah,
Yes, I mean,
no, totally.
they got the rendition there. And unfortunately, he had to be somebody that's homeless and psychotic,
Yeah,
but still, he fit the part though.
he fit the part totally.
So, with Spectre, was this inspired by anyone in specific?
I don't recall what it would have been. I don't know. This one I'm kind of at a loss for who that could be, if anybody. I probably somebody, but I couldn't guess.
Yeah. No. Okay. So what about Thumper?
So Thumper, we had two twin testers on our game. One was Algon Layton, and I forgot the name of the other guy, but this was meant to be one of them anyway. I think the guy that we had the closest contact with on the game. So that's him.
Okay. And then we already talked about Sweet Tooth here, just the generic part. I mean, he does. I guess he fits the party clown.
Yeah,
I
I mean,
guess kind of with fiery
his
hair.
details like around his eyes and cheeks and mouth are so detailed compared to almost all the other paintings, honestly, that
Yeah, I can see.
I wonder where he got this from. Like I'm now curious that he had to have got this from somewhere, but I couldn't conceive what.
Yeah, I mean, if he got inspiration from everything else, like he probably got it from somewhere.
Yeah,
He had to have at
yeah,
least. Okay,
totally.
so it should be on the other picture that I wanted to go back to because there's something on here. Where is it? Okay, so on here it says it's talking about the characters. As they include Thumper, Roadkill, Mr. Grimm, Hammerhead, Axel, Warthog, and the ever popular Sweet Tooth. New to the series are Club Kid, Firestarter, Augur, and Flower Power. In addition, the bosses Dark Tooth and Minion are returning. So, was Dark Tooth ever planned to be in the game from Twisted, like the final boss of Twisted Metal 2?
That didn't sound familiar to me. Maybe that did come up when whoever was talking to the magazine. But yeah, I don't specifically recall that being a thing.
Like possibly, I was just wondering if it was an idea. But I saw that and I was like, I mean, this article does kind of, I mean, does kind of mislead people in some instances at least, because I mean they're just
Yeah,
saying in addition they're coming back.
I mean, every time you see an article about something you're super familiar with, it's amazing how much stuff is just false.
Yeah, yeah, of course. I mean, because you never know. Like
um,
they got a flower power picture wrong. Picture of Minion is just a concept of Calypso for some reason. They say that Dark Tooth's coming back.
I mean, that stuff could have been true at the time they had this information. But I wouldn't be surprised if some percentage of this article was just flat wrong, even for that
Flat
time.
wrong. Yeah, it's the classic
Yeah,
news.
yeah.
Okay, so one question a lot of people have is about the music. Like, whose idea was it to put or like to get Rob Zombie's music into this game? Like, was that a team member or was that Sony like, oh, he's popular right now, let's put him in the game, everyone's gonna like this?
That was probably, if I had to guess, that was probably our executive producer, Jay Beard, who was running our studio at the time. Um, was Rob with Sony at that time? I don't remember, but I do know that I got so I was the one that had to put the music into the game.
Yeah.
So I was given an early pre-release copy of whatever album that was. I don't remember the name of the album now, but I got a copy of the album before it was released, basically. I
Yeah.
mean, it looked identical to the version that shipped. But I'm the one that had to rip that disc so I could get the music into our game. But yeah, I don't remember who made those choices. I mean, at that time, I wasn't listening to Rob Zombie. I mean, generally, I liked heavy metal and hard rock at the time. And once I got that disc, I just listened to that like a zillion times and just loved it. Um, but yeah, Rob Zombie was definitely not my idea. So I would guess Jay probably maybe was the one behind that, or maybe somebody in the marketing team or something. I was the one that was responsible for the music and everything before, like all the builds that you see videos of prior to
Yeah,
hearing
the Quake
any of
music.
that final music, yeah, all the Quake 2 soundtrack is that was 100% me. I
I
was
thought they put
playing.
I thought they put that in for the video. I thought they just like the person that uploaded is like, oh, just put in Quake 2 music, but that was I guess that was that. So if I
No,
played that build right now, that would be
that
that would
would be
actually
it.
just be
Yeah,
okay.
I was a huge Quake 2 player and fan at the time, and I loved the Quake 2 music. Sonic Mayhem did a lot of video game music that was just awesome rock pumping type of music. So when I built early versions of the game, I'm like, well, we got to put music in here just to have, some placeholder stuff. Quake 2 it is.
Yeah, I mean it does fit Twisted Metal, like that feeling of it definitely does for sure.
Yeah, it's death. It's meant to be deathmatch music, so but yeah, it did make sense.
Someone was asking about Lance Lenhart, the one behind the original soundtracks in the game.
Mhm.
So, do you have any further information about that man?
I do not. Didn't we have some music in the game that was kind of modified versions of some of the original music? I'm trying to remember now.
I think that
Like,
was
was it the
four
North?
that
Was
had that.
that?
I think it was four because
Was it four?
four had Dragula, but it was remixed, and same with what was the song in Minions Maze? I don't remember it off. Super Beast
But
that was
didn't like
remixed.
North Pole have some kind of
Oh yeah,
inspired something?
I think North Pole may have been remixed as well. I don't know. I don't think that was the original soundtrack.
Okay, yeah, I don't recall if we had the original guy within our sort of circle of creating music for our games. It doesn't sound familiar to me anyway.
Okay, okay. 'Cause, I mean, I figured you'd have a little bit more
Yeah,
information on that.
potentially, yeah.
So I think that's the end of the article. I don't think there's nothing else that really stands out. I mean, all the pictures are all finished products. Like there's no early pictures or anything, which we're definitely gonna look into that for sure. Because I have a couple of videos here, the PlayStation Museum footage. So I want to look at three first before anything.
Yeah.
Okay. So the first thing I wanted to ask about this is the Calypso's Revenge tagline for Twisted Metal 3.
Yeah, I
You,
mean, I don't know if that was like an actual idea or if like I told somebody, "Hey, we're creating a disk. Let's have a loading screen because we want to replace whatever." Because this code base came from first Rallycross then Kart World Series. So initially there was some Kart World Series stuff in here, and I'm like, "All right, I need a loading screen that's Twisted Metal 3." And I don't know if an artist just kind of made up a tagline or if that was a potential theme we were going down. I don't recall which. I mean, it was so early on because this
yeah,
this build is from January 30th of 98. I mean, this was
yeah,
literally
that's early,
three
early.
weeks, 3.5 weeks of us working on the game.
Yeah,
Um,
it's gonna be a nostalgia trip for you.
yeah, so if there was even any idea of, oh yeah, this is going to be called Calypso's Revenge, it wasn't a very developed idea by that time. Um, so yeah, I know I don't know anything, and nothing ever came of it. Of course, there's
Yeah,
no.
yeah.
And revenge on what? I mean, you know,
Yeah,
it,
I mean, I guess him getting dropped in the hole and minions ending in the previous game, like that's all I could think of.
oh,
Like, I mean, I don't know if
or
that's what it referred to or what. I'm not sure who came up with the
I mean,
revenge part.
if anything, Twisted Metal 5 could be called Calypso's Revenge.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, definitely, it would make sense. So,
Yeah, yeah,
let's see, let's pull up this. I wanted to talk about Washington.
yeah.
Is it you said you use this for like physics testing ground, right?
I use it a lot. Yeah, there's the way it works is there's a few cars I will use throughout a dev cycle and a few levels I'll use throughout a dev cycle, and then the rest I almost never use. This was one I used quite a bit. Yeah, so this used to be much bigger and much more involved.
Oh, I can tell
The
from the
artist that,
gameplay. It's crazy. It's huge.
yeah, so there's a few reasons we would have pared it down, and I'm not sure if it was a combo of them. But one is obviously draw distance. You can even see that here. I mean, just
Yeah,
shooting
yeah.
this
The level's not
buffeting
even. It's
constantly.
not even loading. Yeah,
Yeah.
especially with people
So
battling, it'd be crazy.
we only go out a certain distance. I mean, as we optimize later, we were able to go out further and further. But that one would have needed quite a far draw distance that I don't think we were able to achieve. So that's probably one reason it got cut down. Another is possibly for gameplay reasons. After this got further along than it is in this video, and they started playtesting it, maybe they felt it wasn't that fun. Also, the artist that was working on this, he wanted to do a lot of crazy stuff with this. Like, you shoot this thing, a rocket launches out of here, blows up the Washington Monument, sets off this other chain reaction. Like, he really wanted to go all out on this, and I think we also felt some of those ideas were just not doable,
Yeah, it's
and might not even be fun. Like, might be a lot of work to get this whole chain reaction of destruction down, and it's just a one-off thing, for a thing that might not be fun. So yeah, I think it got cut down for probably those reasons. I think the same with Egypt was another one. Like you'll probably scrub to Egypt at a certain point.
Yeah, yeah.
That one I'm not as familiar with because I wasn't using Egypt hardly at all. Like when I see some of these Egypt videos, I'm like, that was a level in our game because I was rarely in that level. But it did start out much bigger, and I think for the same reason. Once it got played a bit, maybe it was realizing like, this is a little boring, and also the draw distance issue. So they might have pulled that size in for those reasons for that as well. Because those are probably the two most wide open levels. I think.
Yeah, Egypt in the launch game is definitely wide open. I think I would say it's the most wide open in the game, and then Washington's more flat. Like it's just like the White House, and then just a small arena.
Yeah, I think it was decided like, hey, how about an arena where they just sort of boxed in, just this one area in some weird futuristic society, and this is just a pure death match rectangle, at that point.
Yeah, of course. So with the postal truck, was this ever going to try to? Were you going to try to go forward with this?
Huh.
I mean, obviously you'd have to change it because of the legal reasons, but
I don't know if somebody just like, hey, what's an obvious thing to put in here? Well, a guy going postal, right?
yeah.
I don't know if they did that just as well. This will be something we'll use for now while we're developing the game, developing the physics and all that stuff, and they just knew like, yeah, we're not going to ship with this. Or if a build went up to Foster City and legal saw it and just kind of cropped themselves and said, no, do not do that.
Yeah, you'd be getting calls from the legal teams.
I mean,
fast.
that is the logo right there on the back of the truck. I mean, there's no way.
And plus, I have on the screen. There's a McDonald's logo. There's a FedEx logo. There's a Coca-Cola logo. There's a Sanyo logo. There's a couple other ones there that like clearly, unless you're getting paid like to sponsor them or getting sponsored by them, they're just probably placeholders.
Yeah, I mean that was meant to represent that part of England, so or London. So I don't know if maybe those were actual ads at the time when they were sourcing art for this, but yeah, there's no way we could have shipped with that unless we had some deal with them.
Yeah, of course.
By the way, that miles per hour gauge, that is directly from Kart World Series.
That's the same one. That's the same one.
Yeah,
with Kart
this
World?
was before that got replaced. I think it is anyway. I think the one from Kart World Series was a black font on an LCD background, but I think it's still the same font at this point.
Yeah, and then this BMW, it's clearly a BMW. Like, there's nothing else to say about that, clearly.
M3, yeah. Well, we had I think Barry owned it. Did he own an M3? He owned a BMW. So he was a big BMW fan.
So, yeah.
I'm sure he's the one that made this car. So, yeah, it's not a surprise that's here. But, yeah, I think that showed up in Twisted Metal 4 as a Create-A car.
Yes, it did. I know, when you said that to me, I noticed it, and I was like, oh, yes, this is the Create-A car. Like, it's the same one that's from that, so it just got ported over.
Yeah.
Into Twisted Metal 4.
Yep.
But without the logo of BMW, obviously.
Yeah.
Do you remember anything about this Hangar 18? Like, early on? Like, it's Area 51. The name probably wasn't in place yet.
I don't remember anything specific about it. I mean, I look at it now and I'm like, it's missing all the blue.
Yeah, it's very flat color-wise.
One thing I remember from that article earlier, I think it says something in there about, like, one idea was to shoot all the switches and the UFO would come landing. I don't know if we ever had that idea.
Let me check and see the article real quick. I can see if it says something about that.
Yeah.
I think it mentioned probably in the second one. Yeah, it says knock out all the switches and open up a secret place within Area 51 level. Is what it says.
Oh, okay.
I don't know if it's talking about underneath the UFO, because when you blow up all the switches, it opens up a laser barrier that you can go up and teleport on the top area, and there's a UFO flying around. I don't know if it's talking about that.
It gets you to the level weapon, which I think probably the idea of a level weapon came about after the fact of this article for sure. So yeah, there might have been all sorts of ideas in this that kind of ended up getting changed because like, oh, well, we can't do that. We can do this instead type of thing.
This is there's a North Pole in here as well, and it looks completely different from the original game. It's obviously more flat.
So this was the first thing that we got going in Twisted Metal was an ice level. I remember that being the very first, and there was no house. This was just all flat. They like because we had come from two racing games where basically everything was a height map. So we basically had a 2D sense of the world. We basically for every X and Z point, there's only one height. But in Twisted Metal, you want to be able to go over things and under things, and you want to be able to go through a tunnel, but then later be able to drive above on top of that tunnel. So this I think there's a tunnel in this particular level that was the reason why that existed was for me to start to get physics going that had an idea of being able to go over and under things, like a whole 3D world rather than just the 2D height map that we had previously. So this was the first thing that existed for that.
You did this all by yourself, right? Like the physics engine? Like was that all you?
Yeah, I was 100% physics from scratch. I mean, it started from Rallycross, developed it a little further for Kart World Series, then developed it a little for TM3 and then for TM4. But yeah, that 100% from scratch physics my own. There was no such thing as middleware back then, and certainly nothing that could run well on a PS1. So I had to figure this out all on my own.
Yeah, I'm sure it was a rough time as well. Because I think it's the most criticized part about this game is probably the physics, but I mean,
yeah, because it's a simulation style physics as opposed to like Twisted Metal 1 and 2 weren't really using driving physics because Dave Jaffe wanted it to be like a Mortal Kombat but with cars.
Yeah,
It was how I think he kind of pitched it. And there's no simulation driving physics, if that's your sort of mantra, of course. But since we had 9.5 months to deliver a game, we had to use our physics engine from our previous driving games. So that was what would ship with this. But I tried to do what I could to make this twisted metally as possible. But yeah, it was never going to be perfect in the time frame we had.
oh yeah, for sure. I mean, it's either if you tried to start from scratch like a whole new physics engine, you probably wouldn't have been able to finish the game. So.
Oh yeah, yeah, for sure.
That just wouldn't have not have happened.
Yeah.
I think is that all for this Twisted Metal 3? I think it is.
I'm the one that put this disc together, by the way.
You're the one who put this disc together?
All this shooting, hits given, hits received, the machine guns working, and actually hitting cars, that was all 100% me. And burning this disc and getting it working. That very first rev was all me, I remember. Just killing myself to get that.
For sure.
I mean, we had other team members. We had a guy that was working on weapons. We had a guy that was working exclusively on the AI. And then I was basically doing the physics and just generally the engine overall.
Because it was what? How many people was on the Twisted Metal 3 team? Was it 5, right?
There was it 4 of us programmers? I'm trying to think who the 4th programmer was, and I'm drawing a blank, and somebody will be pissed at me for sure. But I would say it was 4 programmers and like 5 or 6 artists, something like that. So yeah, I mean the core team was under 15 people. I mean if you count the producers that we were working with daily, about 15 people for the core team. And then Twisted Metal 4, we added maybe a couple more people to that. I remember one more programmer, one more artist. But yeah, no, go ahead.
I have Egypt on the screen as well. So
Yeah.
you can see how much. I don't know if you remember the final version, like the final level. I'm not sure how it looks. If you remember how it looks.
Too much, only because this was a level I was not using for my testing as much as other levels.
It's very short. This is part of a trailer that was released in 1998. That's why the quality is so pixelated. Because I don't know if this was on TV or if it was on maybe a disc, maybe like a PlayStation Underground disc or something. But the level is much more wide open. Like there's water in there. There's some foliage in certain spots, and this obviously isn't present in the launch game. So I was just wondering, I don't remember anything.
Well, I'm trying to think what this is because this wasn't like a commercial. Yeah, if this was a trailer, then yeah, this had to have been on a PlayStation, one of those PlayStation discs, and if so, that was early on. Like this they would have had to have had an early version of the game in order to make that in time, basically. So I could see that. Yeah, this may have changed, like say late summer, early fall, even
Yeah,
potentially.
because all these other levels are finalized. Like the new North Pole, um, the London's finalized here, and everything is. It's all finished. It's just that level that was different.
Yeah. Well, I mean, those other levels that you named, those were levels that were developed starting early on. Like North Pole started in January. Egypt could have possibly started in summer. Um, so yeah, that doesn't surprise me.
Okay, so to pivot away from Twisted Metal for a second, since Dave
Yeah.
is here, with Vigilante 8. So that you said that game is why Twisted Metal 3 exists.
Yes. Yes. I don't know if Twisted Metal 3 would exist if not for Vigilante 8 in a very weird roundabout way. So yeah, Kelly Flock, who was running Sony America at the time, had probably seen some early builds of Vigilante 8 or heard about Vigilante 8 or heard that Interstate 76 was coming to PlayStation. And Interstate 76 was a hotly played game in our studio. And then he's like, well, wait a minute. This looks like a car combat game. Oh, shit. We have this, Twisted Metal franchise. Though, it's kind of following a little bit at the moment because Single Track and Sony had some issues with their relationship. But he's like, all right, well, I don't want Vigilante 8 to come out and they become the de facto car combat game over Twisted Metal. So, oh crap, we need to get another Twisted Metal out. All right, who's available? Oh, there's that team in San Diego that I sometimes visit and drink beer with, and they're rolling off a racing game. So they have a code base that, runs cars around. So it's a starting point, right? So that's kind of how that developed, basically. Just Kelly Flock going, oh shit, we need another Twisted Metal game out.
Yeah,
And
they
there
wanted
you
to
go.
monopolize the car combat.
Yeah.
So just no one else can have it. Only Twisted Metal. That's it.
And to be fair, like I knew like Adrian Stevens was like the lead or main programmer on Vigilante 8, and he was on the PlayStation developer news groups, as was I. So we knew of each other. We even, talked about best ways of using the Sony hardware and libraries. So we knew of each other. We knew what each other were working on, and we even met at a conference and all that stuff. And I dug Vigilante 8. I mean, we were working at Sony, and Sony, would have early builds of games. So like we actually played an early build of Vigilante 8. I don't know if, that was okay or not, but once discs, sort of arrive at Sony, they end up getting passed around sometimes. So we saw they had a pretty cool game. I mean, I dug it. Visually, it was great. It felt good. It was a nice version of its own car combat game. It wasn't doing Twisted Metal; it was doing its own thing. So it was pretty cool. I could see why Kelly Flock was concerned. So it all made sense.
Because most of the car combat games that released back then were kind of like crappy. Like a lot of them were just not very good. Like Twisted Metal and Vigilante 8 are the only ones that come to mind when I think of like actual like quality car combat games.
I mean, I was playing a bit of Carmageddon at the time on Windows. I dug Carmageddon.
Oh, well, isn't that like kind of like racing and combat?
Yeah,
I've never played it because I'm talking about like the arena style, like how Twisted Metal and Vigilante 8 play.
I'm not sure what else was even out at the time of that.
Because there was Road Trip that obviously came out, which that game didn't sell very well.
I loved Road Trip though. That was another one we got an early build of, and I just played the shit out of that game.
It was fun. It was made by the people who made Twisted Metal 2. I think they fixed a lot of the issues that game had.
Yeah, they're
really
the reason why I implemented reflection mapping in Twisted Metal 4 actually, and specular mapping, because I saw that they had it. It looked cool. I was able to sort of use our performance analyzer hardware in order to sort of see how are they doing reflection mapping. I got to sort of inspect their VRAM again. Not sure if this was okay, but since discs were being passed around and stuff like that would happen. But I dug Road Trip. Actually, I love that game. I loved its its visual style was great. It was nice and colorful. I loved it. Like they couldn't just simply do a car combat game because they were already skirting the edge of Sony might be pissed at us type of thing. I love their, the fact that they had a gameplay element to run it. It's not just car combat. It was almost a racing game to an extent. It was, racing to get to all the photographic positions. So the fact that it had this gameplay element while doing car combat, I really like that idea.
It was definitely creative for sure. Like they definitely made it stand out amongst the rest, even though it didn't sell super well. But
yeah,
I think it sold pretty bad actually. I think it was kind of a flop. I don't think it even reached the PlayStation greatest hits. I don't think.
Oh yeah, I don't know about that. But what else was out at the time? I mean, Destruction Derby had an arena mode, but that wasn't with weapons. That was just you crashing into cars.
Yeah, I mean, because I think some came out after. There was like stuff like Grudge Warriors. I don't know if you ever heard of that one.
No.
It's very bad. Very, very bad car combat game. It just wasn't too much competition, so.
Yeah. Yeah, I still think there's. I mean, yeah, I guess afterward there were all sorts of car combat games, but I've seen a handful over the years, none of which names I can remember, but I gotta believe that there's still a market for it.
It's a very niche market. In modern times, at least, it's a niche market. Because I think Twisted Metal was kind of a fad in the 90s. Like, it came out popular for 2 or maybe like 4 or 5 years and then kind of just started to slowly go away.
Yeah.
Like, that's how I saw it. And obviously now I'm sure that you could probably sell a Twisted Metal game in modern times that would probably do relatively well because there's not really any, at least AAA games, and Sony could market it out and probably monopolize it again if they really wanted to. Because I don't think anyone would compete. So.
Totally. I mean, after being on Discord for a couple years now in different Twisted Metal fan groups, I realized, holy crap, this is an underserved market here. I mean, what people are playing are emulated versions of car combat games from the 90s. I mean, we need new games for sure.
Yeah, there's a couple of new ones. Like I think Crossout is one, but that's the only one I can think of. It's a free-to-play car combat game.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I mean, they made the new show, and I'm sure there's a new game coming down the pipeline as well.
And there has to be, yeah, but I'm surprised we've not heard anything that is definitive. Every time I hear, oh, here's official news that it's out, it's, some magazine article where they saw somebody posted a job listing or something somewhere and are just assuming that's what it means. I'm still waiting to hear for the smoking gun piece of news that, like, oh, they are definitely working on a game.
Yeah, that's for sure. What were you gonna say?
I was gonna say, but since the show has done so well, like I missed, like I was away on a trip to Alaska when the show was released, unfortunately. So I just watched the first 2 episodes last night. But everything I've read about it, like the show is doing well. The first 2 episodes seem to be really good. It's got good production values. It's got humor, special effects. Like it had every reason to suck, and it totally didn't. So I kind of wonder if that'll. Yeah, I wonder if that'll bring. I mean. It's weird because at least of the episodes I've seen so far, I mean, I wouldn't call it a car combat TV series, but it has elements of that in it. Like, I wonder if a story-based car combat game, has a place now.
It's definitely, but too, because a lot of people like the characters and stuff, so like you could expand it more out and make it more interesting for people. Because I don't think the games really did any justice for characters at all. It was pretty lackluster in that front, I think. Even the ones people consider the best, it was just very mundane storytelling.
Yeah, I mean, it was just all the game mechanics, really, and just, this extra stuff put on of like, oh, this is a character, this is a character. Yeah, very little attention paid to it.
Oh, yeah.
By comparison.
Sure. So to return back to the original topic of Vigilante 8, so we sidetracked a little bit.
Sure.
So would you consider you getting those early builds of Vigilante 8 kind of like a cheat? Because you got to see what they were doing. Like, you got to see what was going on at this other, like, when they were making Road Trip and Vigilante 8, like, you got to see what they have ready, and, like, you probably weren't supposed to see those builds, I'm assuming. Like, I doubt they got a build of yours. So
No, I mean these builds go to Sony for various reasons, marketing, testing. I don't know. So for Sony to pass around these builds, obviously, I mean things were much looser in the '90s as far as goings on in the office and all that stuff goes. But yeah, there's no way they were getting builds of our stuff. I mean, I'd be, I wouldn't say no way, but I'd be pretty surprised. But I could see some pathways where that would happen. Yeah,
yeah.
a cheat in a sense, but I don't think we used it. Like, I personally didn't take anything away from their games where I'm like, oh, we have to do that, except for just the reflection mapping that I mentioned.
Yeah.
But that wasn't like a gameplay thing. That was just a, oh, what visual thing could I do graphically different from Twisted Metal 3 that I hadn't done yet? So, but I don't know if some decisions made by some of, the producers weren't made as a result of seeing those builds. That could totally be the case.
Oh yeah, because I mean, since Sony was so like they wanted to protect Twisted Metal, so I'm not surprised they shared those with you guys and didn't share Twisted Metal at all because they wanted that to be the monopolized genre, their franchise in the genre. So
yeah,
it doesn't shock me though.
I mean, that said, this was generally happening. I mean, during Rallycross, we were shown an early build of Crash Bandicoot. I mean, that wasn't competing with our racing game by any means, but it was Sony showing our internal teams like, hey, this is something that is capable of being done on our highly underpowered piece of hardware here.
Yeah.
So there were builds would get passed around if there was something impressive to be shown. Typically,
oh, for sure.
Yeah.
So, with Twisted Metal 3, do you remember anything about Darkseid or Primeval, like the concepts? Was there anything written for those characters at all? Because in the manual it says like Darkseid couldn't show up because or Primeval couldn't show up because he was too busy torturing demons, and Darkseid he doesn't reflect light, which is obviously we didn't have time to put these in the game. Is what
yeah. That is exactly what that means. I mean, those
a funny way for kids to see.
Yeah, for sure. Primeval came very late in the game as far as a vehicle design goes. I don't recall any concept or anything for it. I think same thing with Darkseid. I want to say that also kind of came late in this schedule. I don't recall seeing that vehicle early on. I mean, that said, like I was mostly just working on the tech side of things. I didn't involve myself too heavily into any kind of design or game balancing or what characters should come back and what characters shouldn't and all this stuff. I mean, the character I was always playing when I was playing a shitload of Twisted Metal 1 was Crimson Fury, and that never came back, and I don't know if I even tried to pitch that or anything. But that said, it came back sort of as a Create-A-Car character in Twisted Metal 4.
Is that where it came from? Like, was that your idea to put that, like, I want a car that looks similar to it, I guess, for Twisted Metal 4?
Doubt it. I don't recall, but I doubt it because I was, especially with the Create-A-Car stuff. Like Create-A-Car came so late on, I was so against this idea. I thought it was a huge risk to our schedule or huge risk to our code base. I said, I am not going to involve myself in Create-A-Car even 1%. This is all on the guy doing the menuing system, and as long as he can get the data where it needs to be, that the rest of our engine code is expecting it, you guys do whatever. I'm not touching this stuff. So yeah, I am highly doubtful that I had anything to do with that car showing up, just because I didn't believe in this feature, although it seems to be liked. So
yeah, it's a cool aspect of the game for sure, since they all have their own individual stats. Yeah. So it's kind of cool to see, like, they have small, and it's not like they all kind of are bad in the game, I would say, like at least at a character standpoint, but at least it's something different. And especially as a kid, it's like you're probably gonna think that's super awesome as a kid. So I mean, at least I know I did when I was a kid. I thought it was so cool, even though it was a lot less cool than I thought it was, but at least I noticed that when I got older, of course. But it's not hard to impress a kid. But
one cool thing about the Create-A-Car stuff is those battle cries. A good half of those are our team members actually that got in the sound studio and
you guys recorded yourself, or did you not do it?
I didn't do it. Now I regret it. It would be kind of cool to have had because some of those guys are actually having IMDb credits as a result of having their voice in the game. That'd be kind of cool. I'm in the IMDb credits as like an engineer or something, but it'd been cool to actually get a vocal credit. But yeah, so I didn't do it, but a handful of team members were easily half of those battle cries.
I thought they were funny. They got to be references to stuff, I'm assuming, but they were definitely funny though. I thought they were all the battle cries for the create a car.
Yeah, and even some of the if I'm recalling correctly, Twisted Metal 3, when you're going through selecting a car and you go to the bio, there's like some voiceover, right, of the character, I think. Some of those are also team members.
Do you remember? Okay, I mean, in Twisted Metal 3 and 4, like about the voice acting.
Mm-hmm.
Did you ever meet with any of those people?
Nope.
No, you definitely met. Okay.
I met one of them after the fact. Was she in our game? There's oh god, I think her name begins with an L. Blonde woman. She's kind of a famous voice actor in video games. I think is her name Lanella or something? She did, I think, some voice acting for some of our games, and I think I met her at a game conference long after the fact, because just sort of, at a networking event exchanging business cards, and I think she said, "Oh, you worked on," so I think I did some voice acting for one of those games. But other than that, no, I had no involvement with any of the voice recording or who was doing it and where. Because I think, if anything, a lot of that probably happened up in Foster City, which is the San Francisco Bay Area, and we were down in San Diego. So yeah, I had no contact with any of that.
Okay, so I think that's most about Twisted Metal 3 so far. I mean, I had like one other question about it. Maybe would be, is there anything about Twisted Metal 3 that we don't know, like a secret Easter egg or code or something like that that people may not know?
I think I had posted somewhere not too long ago, maybe on Discord, all the Twisted Metal 3 codes, because I don't think they're all out, and I had a copy of them, so I think I posted those somewhere. One thing I can think of is that oil rig level. Wait, is oil rig 3 or 4? I sometimes mash together.
Oil rigs in 4.
Right, then there's something in the oil rig level. I remember we can talk about that when we talk about 4. No, in Twisted Metal 3, I can't really think of much else. So we ended up shipping that game because we had to. So there's some stuff that's unfinished. The one thing that stands out for me is the turbo effect. It's just this little puff of smoke that comes out the back, and I think there's a little tick 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 sound for each frame.
Yeah.
That was something I put as a placeholder just early on, so you know that you're turboing. Literally, there was no time to do anything more on that other than what was there early on. And it just looks like a piece of crap turbo effect and sound effect. So that's the only thing that sort of comes to mind along that lines.
Yeah, I remember when you told me about the Twisted Metal 3 turbo placeholder. What would you have made it? Like, if you could have redone this right now, like, what would you change the Twisted Metal 3 turbo to actually look like? What was your idea?
Well, I mean, because I was so ashamed of the Twisted Metal 3 effect, I went all out on Twisted Metal 4. So probably Twisted Metal 4 is like what I would have ideally liked the Twisted Metal 3 to be. Like, I had full-blown animated flames, and artists had the ability of placing the points where the flames would come out of. Whereas in Twisted Metal 3, I think I just spawned them off at the center point of the car, which is stupid.
Yeah.
So yeah, I went full hog on having this professional effect in Twisted Metal 4. So yeah, Twisted Metal 4 is what I would have liked to have seen in Twisted Metal 3.
It looks good in that game. Like it kind of like reflects off the cars, like the side pieces and stuff. It looks nice.
Oh yeah, there's point lights associated with those. So yeah, it'll light up cars where they are. They fade in and like grow, and then when they turn off, they shrink and fade out. So it's a very dynamic effect. Like I'm like, yeah, I want this to be as dynamic as possible to make up for my crime in Twisted Metal 3.
Yeah, of course. I mean, even though I don't think too many people probably, I've never really heard complaints about the Twisted Metal 3 turbo effect, but I guess for like a personal level for you, I mean, you probably wanted to redeem yourself for it having a placeholder in the launch game. So
yeah, it could be I'm the only one that ever noticed what a piece of crap it was, and now I've brought it to everybody's attention. Now you can't unsee it, type of thing, and I should have said nothing.
Yeah, I mean, unfortunately, there's nothing to change anymore. Like, can't. It's too late now. But
way
if you had
too
more
late.
time, if you had more time.
Yeah, exactly.
So I had a question about like the complaints after Twisted Metal 3. Like, because obviously this game was like publicly ridiculed by a lot of people. Like, there was stuff from like Twisted Metal Alliance, which I mean, it's crazy they've been like around for as long as they have. Although they're, I mean, I would say they're kind of a tumor at this point. But like magazines and critics and everything were just super harsh on this game. Even if you know who George Wood is, I'm not sure if you know who that is. He even had a video. He had like the original gaming review show, we'll call it that. Or show. I use show really loosely, but he had a video saying the game was bad. Like, when you went into Twisted Metal 4, were you taking those criticisms like we need to do better, or like was it like people are making fun of my work? Like, how did you take those criticisms?
I was fine. I didn't take it badly at all. I knew why they had their criticisms. They had no idea of the development situation. They had no idea that, like, for all they knew, this was SingleTrack's idea of what to take Twisted Metal to. They had, you know, to evolve into the next Twisted Metal. They had no idea that, like, no, there was no SingleTrack, and there was no Twisted Metal 2 code or Twisted Metal 2 art to start with. That this was started from scratch by completely different people entirely. Like, nobody knew that. You would know this now because, you know, the internet, everything.
It was in that article now. To just like interrupt for a second, the article does say it. It does say. Let me read it.
I mean, that's true. I'm curious what percentage of people read that article that bought the game versus.
Yeah, I mean, I guess that's true.
Like a good example. We were, God, where the hell was it? In 2000, I'm going to say, or maybe 99, I was at some conference, and we were there with Kelly Flock. I think Kelly Flock was giving a talk. That's what it was. He was giving a talk at a conference. I was in the audience with a couple other, you know, Twisted Metal team members, but I think this was after we were done with Twisted Metal. And after we were done, there was a guy at this conference. This had to have been a game developers conference or something, but there was a guy there that wasn't in game development or anything. I think maybe he somehow gotten a pass to go check out E3 or game developers conference. Like, he approached us, like we were leaving that room with Kelly Flock because we were going to do beers or something like that. And there was a guy that looked completely stressed out, completely sweating, coming up to us, like out of breath, and like looked very upset, visibly upset, and was like asking us, why did you remove this? Why did you remove that? Like I was like not. I was starting to get a little worried for our safety. Like this guy kind of, you know, was freaking me out a little bit.
They were that unhinged. Like, these people were getting angry, like coming up to you and getting angry about Twisted Metal 3 and 4.
This was the only time something like that happened. But like that dude had no idea like that. You know, we started from scratch with this, and we had to. It wasn't that we removed something. We had to add literally everything in the game, and just some stuff we didn't have time to add. So that's the only kind of anecdote I have along those lines, as far as, you know, what people knew or didn't know or don't understand.
That you had a real life interaction with someone that got mad at you about Twisted Metal 3.
And that was the only one, thankfully. I mean, you know, you probably heard worse stories about other franchises or people. Like,
I mean, especially with online's prevalence, yeah.
Yeah, or George Lucas, you ruined my childhood, you know, when episode 4 came out. Like, come on, man. Yes, of course. That's that type of thing.
Some people take it a little too seriously, I think. But
so yeah, what was your original question? I don't know if I just deviated from it.
Oh no, I was just asking if you took those criticisms. Like did it help you and motivate you to do better with the fourth game?
So with the fourth game, I don't think those criticisms helped us because we knew everything that was bad in the game. We knew. We didn't have time for it. So we're like, Twisted Metal 4, let's just polish everything that we didn't have the chance to polish in one, like the turbo effect or other things. Let's improve the physics. Like, oh, you couldn't turn in midair. You couldn't turn really in place on the ground. All right, well, those are implemented. The flipping over sucks. All right, well, let's see what we can do to reduce that or make it less painful than it was. Those were my things because I was on the physics. Also visually, like I didn't like the cars were very flat lit in Twisted Metal 3. Like everything was lit on the car uniformly, so there was no directional lighting. So I wanted these cars to look more 3D, because the other thing was we wanted to do more in this game, so we wanted to tell the artists, all right, you had 230 or 250 maybe quads and triangles that you could use to make these vehicles. We're now going to give you 80. So your car polygonal budget is cut by 1/3, but we want to do that because we want to make these cars look better by adding dynamic three-dimensional lighting, reflection mapping, specular, fake specular lighting on these things. And the cars in Twisted Metal 4, as a result, look way better than Twisted Metal 3 with 1/3 of the polygon budget. So we knew where we wanted to improve. Gameplay, I left that in the hands of the producers and the designers and those people that had that hand in it. So I don't know what they did on that front. But I know what I needed to do just because I knew this stuff sucked from Twisted Metal 3, independent of what I heard after the fact. I don't think anything that I heard after Twisted Metal 3 shipped surprised me. Like I knew what I would hear.
Yeah, because I mean, Twisted Metal 3 was kind of just set up to fail, which I think people overlook that a lot, but it's like they had a completely new group of people that just had to work on a game from scratch, and they just, I don't know, you did what you could, really. That's all you can do, working like 20 hours a day.
Yeah. Oh, and I killed myself on both these games. I mean, for 2 years, I was basically working 6 days a week, 16 hours or more a day. I mean, I would come in at maybe 10 o'clock in the morning and leave at 3 o'clock in the morning, like for 2 years nonstop. That sucked, but it was what was required to get this game done. Like if those of us that crunched our asses off did not crunch our asses off, neither one of those games would have shipped, I think.
Yeah, especially I would definitely say that with 3 for sure. Like that game would not have released if, unfortunately, you guys did not work 15 hours a day. Like it definitely would not have shipped.
Yeah. I mean, back then the royalties, at least for this game, made it worth it. And Sony was very generous with their royalty program. But yeah, I probably would have preferred not to have crunched like that. But it helped my career since, I think. I still use a lot of like what I learned with physics and math and all that stuff back then. I still use a lot of that now.
Yeah,
of course. I was grateful. I would not do that now at my age now, but when I was in my dumb 20s, sure, why not?
Yeah, that's because I mean that is a grueling hours. Like, were you kind of, or at least with Twisted Metal 4 going into it, were you like, oh no, I am gonna have to work 20 hours a day again? Like, I don't want to do that. Or like, how was your initial thought?
I was young enough. Well, I just loved working on the engine and the tech, so I kind of enjoyed it. I don't know if I was too stressed out knowing that probably would happen again. I know the AI guy was definitely stressed out about that. Like he very rarely crunched. He kind of refused to do it, but he was also a lot older than the rest of us.
He was the experience when he knew. He knew.
Yeah, I mean he knew what would happen. No, I would be stressed out about it, but back then, I was young enough that it was kind of cool.
Oh yeah, because I remember I've had conversations with Dave about game development of just like they don't want the older people because they're smart enough to know like I'm not going to work this amount of hours. I have a family. I have this, or I actually want a work-life balance. So, like,
I mean, we had that at our studio because we had older people there, and I wasn't a part of this, but I do remember people criticizing, like there were older guys with families that would leave at 5:00 p.m. on the dot.
Yeah.
And behind not so closed doors, they were criticized, after they left by other people in the building. So yeah, I could totally see that.
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, they kind of just like, I have a family. I don't want to be here 16 hours a day. So
definitely,
I can see their mindset of just kind of getting sick of it. But
totally, and it's like, what are you doing it for too? Like, you're killing yourself working all these hours just to earn a paycheck. But the whole idea of having a paycheck is to support your family and do things with them. But if you don't have the time to do things with them, then who's the joke on at that point?
Yeah, basically, they wanted you to work your life away, basically.
Yeah.
Unpaid,
yeah, definitely.
By the way.
Yeah.
Unless you got a royalty check that was good.
Yeah. But Twisted Metal 3 was definitely good. Twisted Metal 4 a lot less so, but still pretty decent sadly by today's standards. Because very few people on the project by comparison Um, Now, I'm sure if there's royalty checks, they're, like pizza money because it's distributed among hundreds and hundreds of people.
Oh yeah, back then it was only 5 or 6, so it made it much
Yeah,
larger.
yeah, totally.
Okay. So with Twisted Metal 4, this
Yeah.
game has the most content like out of any PlayStation 1 Twisted Metal game. I think
Hmm.
I guess some people call the clones, like, there's some characters that have specials that are similar to each other. But on
Hmm.
paper, like, there's 30 different special weapons. You have the create a car system. You have 16 different levels in the
Hmm.
game. You have all this stuff. Like, was that your goal? Was just to put so much content into the game? Or
I
like,
don't recall that being a specific goal. I mean, a couple of those things sort of kind of came happenstance, like all those deathmatch levels.
yeah,
So, how I recall that coming about, that was Barry Pringle again.
some
Like
kid, yeah,
he would just sort of sketch out a level. He would block out a level, and then he would just put a simple texture on it, because not to put too much time into it, just to sort of block it out and get some initial playing on it. And
yeah,
then we realized, wait, this is kind of fun. That almost looks like Tron. What are you doing there? And that sort of developed from there. Like he started creating like actual Tron looking textures, created a couple level ideas that were very sort of simple and blocky, and we're like, holy crap, maybe we could just do whatever, a dozen of these or something. And this could be a whole shitload new levels with very little effort done. Um,
yeah. Because I
so
mean, I
that's
think a
how
lot
I
of people
think that
notice
came
it.
about.
They always
Yeah,
just they call them very lazy levels, and some people
yeah,
criticize them for that. But
that was the point of it, though.
yeah, because I mean, I just call them like wireframe levels because they're not textured. They're just like, or they are textured, but not like the other levels. Basically, not the tournament levels that have
Yeah,
like a bunch of different colors and whatever else going on.
Tron was basically the visual direction for that.
I mean, I didn't think of it that way because I mean, the only time I think about Tron from Twisted Metal is there's a mini game and Head On that's like clearly motorcycles from Tron. But I didn't really notice that with those levels. But it's an interesting thing that
Yeah,
the art styles from that.
yeah, yeah, totally. Like the light cycle section
Yeah,
of the original Tron movie.
yeah, yeah. Of course.
Yeah.
So there's something the frame rate problem with Twisted Metal 4. Like, were you aware of this when you were developing the game? Because some characters, when you use their specials, like the frame will go to like single digit numbers.
Um, you're talking about like Calypso and stuff like that, right?
Yes, there's a character like Goggle Eyes. If you use his special, it
Hmm.
can freeze the game. If you have like 4 people using it at the same time, it can freeze the game. At least on hardware. If you emulate it,
I
you can
was,
fix that. But
yeah, I was probably pissed at the people that were developing those weapons for that reason. So, um, with PlayStation 1, when you have semi-transparent things on the screen, what you have to do, what the hardware has to do with the lower level, it has to read from GPU memory to find out what the color is already rendered on the screen, so it knows how to combine it with the semi-transparent thing you're rendering on top of it. Um, it's a very ridiculously slow operation on the PlayStation. I mean, it's generally slower than just simply rendering an opaque pixel on top of a pixel already in the frame buffer. But yeah, PlayStation had a problem where that was especially slow. So anytime if you had like a semi-transparent thing rendered across the whole screen, and then you have multiple layers of these semi-transparencies, your PlayStation frame rate just nosedives.
yeah,
Um,
that's what happens
so
with Goggle
yeah,
Eyes special. Yeah,
yeah. So if you're running this in an emulator and the emulator isn't emulating those rendering timings and just renders as fast as it can, then yeah, you don't get any of those drops at all. But that's exactly what that was, and yeah, I'm sure I was belly aching about that because I knew that from Rallycross. I learned from the lead programmer on that game that like yeah, PlayStation reads and GPU memory are just the most ridiculous thing ever. So make sure you don't have a lot of semi-transparent stuff in your game.
yeah, because the Goggle Eyes special is probably like it's just too powerful for it to handle. Like, it's too much, and then especially with even other character specials aren't as they're not as what do you call it, like obnoxious, I guess I would use. Like, there's not as much
Mhm.
going on. It can still kind of make the game a little bit, run. It stutters quite a bit.
Yeah.
'Cause were you when you played this game like in earlier builds? Like, was there more characters? Did you have the 7 characters going on in the levels? Because obviously the launch was reduced to 5. Was that because of the frame rate problems?
Yeah. I mean, we have kind of a simulation physics system running and a lot of things generally going on in the level. So, the more cars you have, that's that much more chunk of the CPU it's using. Yeah, we eventually reduced it to a number that we felt comfortable with. Okay, generally this should run at a decent frame rate. So we can, if we want to have more cars generally in the level, we'll spawn them in after, you know, they, after the player kills whatever number of cars first.
Yeah.
So we
'Cause
always
lot of
had
people
a hard coded. What's that?
A lot of people hated that feature from Twisted Metal 3, the regeneration thing. I mean, I don't really understand it, like, personally, why people hate it so much, because it's just, it's kind of evident why that has to happen, and so the game doesn't, like, kill itself. But, like, I mean, even in Twisted Metal 3, it had regeneration, but the game didn't have any frame rate problems, even in Deathmatch, because you could actually have the 7 opponents. So how come that was removed in Twisted Metal 4? Was it just like that unplayable on hardware?
What the regeneration was removed from Twisted Metal 4?
No, having 7 opponents.
Oh, 7. Yeah, I think we just found our frame rate was just tanking. We just had so much more going on in Twisted Metal 4 than in Twisted Metal 3 that like everything was more expensive CPU wise.
Interesting.
Yeah.
We're
doing way more in Twisted Metal 4 than Twisted Metal 3.
Yeah, because I saw, because you can use a Game Shark code and you can cheat and use the 7 opponents. Like, that's the way I've done it in the past. But
yeah.
I guess it makes sense why it had to be removed, because it was just too much for the console to handle.
Yep, very underpowered console. I mean, for what it did at the time, it was pretty good. But yeah, if you wanted to do anything fancy 3D, you really had to use it sparingly.
So I wanted to look through this. I should have it here. The Twisted Metal 4 early gameplay here. It's the same PlayStation Museum thing. It's one of those videos again. Do you know if you have that build? The exact one that they show in that video?
Does that say what date it is or anything?
It didn't say the date. It just labeled as beta build.
Oh no, I definitely don't have this build. Just seeing the front end, no way.
Yeah, because
that is pretty early on.
This is super early.
Well, this is still basically the Twisted Metal 3 menu, just on top of a background of what will be the Twisted Metal 4 menu. Yeah, I definitely don't have that build.
Because even if I don't have the sound playing, but this also does have the engine sound from Twisted Metal 3 as well. It's the same thing.
Yeah.
So I think there's a couple sections in here of characters. I think you have this labeled monster truck. It's one of the created cars, but it's seen in some of these earlier videos, and it kind of makes me wonder, like, did you guys have any characters that were just scrapped for either game, like that you wanted to put into the game, but you're like, we don't have time to make a bio for this character?
This I don't specifically remember early on. Yeah, I'm surprised this is showing up. Maybe there was something they were thinking of doing with this, because Create a Car did come pretty later on, and looking at the menu, actually this video is confusing for me, because looking at these levels, these are pretty far along, but then that front end looked like, wow, that is super early. But maybe we didn't hire the guy that did that front end until maybe halfway through the project. So now I'm not sure. But yeah, I don't recall this truck at all. I remember somebody, I think a year ago, pointed out, what's the story with this truck? I'm like, who put that truck in our game? Who hacked our game? But I don't recall this.
This is in the Create a Car. You can use this vehicle in the game, but like as just a normal car here, it's like.
Yeah, I don't know what the story is with this truck at all. Maybe it was meant to be another Hammerhead. I don't know.
I mean, that was my assumption, because it is a monster truck, so it's like it's kind of safe to assume Hammerhead would have been the character for it, or the driver.
Yeah.
Those are the old machine gun effects that are explosions.
Yeah, totally.
So everything here is placeholders, right? Like.
Well, this I mean that is the minion, and that is before I got the treads rolling properly on that minion. But yeah, I mean
Yes.
it's just the same fire effect no matter what the bullet is hitting here. So yeah, this does seem fairly early, but like these cars are pretty far along.
Yeah, everything seems to be pretty pretty final, honestly. Aside from like maybe a couple things, I think there's like this looks different. This is the one level. Let me get to Amazonia. It's slightly different from the original game, or like the launch game, I should say. Like underneath there's a middle shrine or something. I don't know exactly what it is, but you can go underneath it. There's some ramps and stuff going on in the level. It will come up in a minute, and it's much different from the original game or the launch game.
This is another one of those levels I think I almost never ran while playing or testing.
So you had nothing to do with this one?
Oh, I had nothing to do with any of the levels, but generally there was 2 or 3 levels I would probably use for most of my testing, and then like levels that were developed later on in the project, and this was one of them. I just ended up never using. Some of the cars too, I would almost never use.
Yeah, because this is super. I mean, actually, I wish I knew the date. That's the thing. Maybe it would ring up more bells if you knew.
Yeah, I wish he posted the date of the disc that this video was made from.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. It's like I
mean, I know who this guy is. I know the PlayStation Museum guy.
Oh, are you personal friends with him?
We're connected on Facebook, but we had connected much earlier on than that. He connected with most of the people on the team, I think, just to sort of get information about the games, what we knew, if we had any discs we could give him. I don't know who gave him the disc that he has, but
or it was probably a copy
his name
of
is.
it.
Oh yeah, his name is also David.
So many Davids.
Yeah.
It's interesting. I just wanted to run through this like a little bit, but I guess you don't know much about these levels.
I mean, I know some things. Like, I mean, that train. I'm the one that implemented the ability to have the train, the hover vehicle, the helicopter. Like, I implemented the ability for artists to create a path, and for us to specify an object that follows that path and make these objects destructible. So that box was put there to help get me getting that system going, basically.
Yeah, of course. Because it's. I mean, obviously it was a placeholder for the time, but
yeah,
everything's got to have a placeholder at one point.
Yeah, totally.
I mean, ever since I saw those builds as a kid, I'm just like, I wish I could play them. Like, I've always wished I could play them. That's what I'm saying. PlayStation Museum, man. If I can contact you and you just send me a copy, I won't out you, I promise. I won't say anything.
I believe I have the PS or the PS3, the TM3 one that he has.
Yes.
And I have very late TM4 revs, very late, like shipping, and maybe a week and a half before shipping. I don't have any of the early ones. Yeah, I kind of wonder, since Twisted Metal is now a thing again with the TV series, if I should maybe play this game, stream it or something. But I would want to play it not on the emulator. I'd want to play it on the actual PlayStation 1 with the actual timing.
Yeah, of course.
I just don't know how easy it is to get PlayStation 1 directly streaming on a PC. I mean, I could have a camera facing it, but that would be kind of crap.
Yeah. I mean, there's free softwares and stuff. At least the one I use is free. I know there's some paid ones out there,
but can you connect? Let's see. What does it outputs? I think both S video and composite.
The PlayStation 1.
Yeah. So because you want to somehow connect those directly to your computer. I wonder if there's like a composite or SVG USB.
There would be a composite to HDMI.
Okay.
That's what would be the thing.
But as input to your computer?
I believe so, because I mean I don't record on PS1, so I'm not like super knowledgeable with that stuff.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure at least off my memory, I think that's what you would need. Just
Yeah,
composite to HDMI, and then you can just plug it right in with HDMI. Or some people have modded PS1s that are able to just run HDMI as well. They do it with a lot of older consoles that can't be recorded to make it easier.
Oh, that's interesting. That's cool. Nice.
Okay. So, let's see here. What for you, like with these games, do you think that, like, we'll start with Twisted Metal 3. Do you think that Twisted Metal 3 turned out good? Like, do you think it was worthy of the Twisted Metal name?
Hard to say. I mean, I think we were generally proud of what we shipped, given the constraints. I mean, knowing what I know of the series, and I played a shitload of Twisted Metal Black when that game. That's my favorite Twisted Metal game is Black.
Yeah.
If that is meant to represent Twisted Metal and also what I had played on Twisted Metal 1, because I played a lot of that before I got into games, and I was too busy making games when Twisted Metal 2 came out. Maybe it's not worthy of the Twisted Metal name quite. But at the time when there was just only 2 other Twisted Metal games out, I think maybe it seemed to be worthy of it.
So you don't think the game aged well, or do you think it aged poorly?
I mean, it aged poorly in the way that all PlayStation 1 games age poorly. I'm just looking at, these huge pixels and the textures and all that stuff. Like, I would love to see a remaster of these games. Like, everything as is except just better graphics. Like, just high-res graphics. Everything as, like the physics behaving exactly as it is, just using the same, fixed point arithmetic and all that stuff. I would just love to see this with better graphics. And what does it look like in that case? I would be super curious. Sony, if you're listening, I'm a contract for hire if you ever want to, remaster these.
Yeah, I mean, they did re-release Twisted Metal 1 and 2 recently on the PlayStation 4 and 5, so these ones might be coming down the pipeline. I'm not too sure. It was just a re-release.
Did they do anything? But did they do they look different, or is it just the exact game?
No, it's just an emulated port.
So they didn't up-res. Did they do anything to sort of up-res things, or?
I don't believe so. I think they added like a rewind feature. So if they did port, it would just be a port of this game. It wouldn't be like an entire remake, unfortunately.
Yeah, I mean, I don't even think they don't have the code, so I'm thinking that the most that they could do is sort of kind of doing what basically Game Shark does, the equivalent of just sort of hacking values in memory in order to sort of, hack into up-resing something on this. But if they can't even...
Did you say Sony doesn't have the source code for this game?
For Twisted Metal 1 and 2, no.
Oh yeah, Single Track has their source code.
That's the Twisted Metal 3 is what it is because of that reason.
Because they held that thing hostage. They wouldn't give that source code away.
They had a contract with Single Track such that Single Track did not have to give them source code. And after that, Sony's contracts were very Loctite with we always get source code.
Yes, so they definitely have it for 3 and 4. They definitely have the source codes for these games.
I mean, they must. I don't know where they would have it, but they had to back this up somewhere. I mean, it'd be crazy if they didn't.
Yeah, especially with the sales. Like, it was popular enough to warrant them keeping it.
Yeah, I mean, this would not be an easy thing. Like, if they said, hey, let's just give a team internally this code, get it running on PS5 as a native application, we'll up-res it. I mean, that would not be an easy project. That would be a lot of work to sort of get it compiling again, never mind, running on a PS5.
Yeah, I think it'd be best if they, like, fully remade it, probably.
Yeah.
Instead of porting it, honestly, but...
Yeah.
They want to do. It's clearly, Twisted Metal's making somewhat of a resurgence, so...
Yeah, I think they're just gonna use Unity or Unreal 5 or whatever to make a new Twisted Metal game, if that's in fact what they're doing.
Possibly, I would say so.
Yeah.
So, what about 4? Like, do you think 4 turned out to be a good game?
I liked 4. I might like 3 more, though. I think 3 was a little bit more visceral, but I like the visuals of 4. Like, that was the one thing I didn't like of 3. It just looks drab. So I loved how the graphics ended up turning out on 4.
Interesting. That's rare to hear someone... I mean, I just someone say that they actually like 3 more than 4.
I think because of the physics. Like this is having like a box style physics, and the other 4 has a pyramid style physics. I have on YouTube a talk on how I did the physics for these games.
Yeah.
And I like the box feel better for these cars than I like the pyramid one. But I would like actually to see a blend of the two. Like I liked on Twisted Metal 4 that you could turn in midair. That was really cool. I didn't think that was going to be possible to do, but then I figured out a way to do it, and actually it felt good. I wish we had that in 3. Yeah, I wouldn't mind seeing a merging of these two games somehow, like the best of both worlds, basically. The Reese's peanut butter cup, take the chocolate from the one, the peanut butter from the other.
Yeah, for sure. Because I think the biggest complaint about 3 is definitely the flipping over.
Yeah.
That's the one thing people like really hate, which was rectified in 4. Like that was like it didn't really happen. It was instant when you flipped over. Like you just instantly.
Yeah, we instantly. Yeah, that was something actually Bill Todd I think did. He had it. How about instant flip over? I'm like, that's gonna look stupid. And then they did it and it stayed in and everybody loved it. I'm like, yeah, so is what I know.
Yeah. So what about this? Was this animation a placeholder? Like when you flipped over and the car just kind of just like teleported or disappeared and then just reappeared?
That wasn't. I don't think that was meant to be placeholder. I implemented that, and I think I implemented that as this is the most dynamic thing I can think of right now to sort of hide the fact that we're insta flipping you over. So rather than insta flipping you over, just shrink you and then expand you again.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think there was no idea about some other effect for that. There wasn't an idea to have an effect at all. That was just something I decided to do because I didn't like the instant popping you over.
Yeah, I think it's just the one thing, and that and the levels as well. A lot of them are pretty flat in Twisted Metal 3.
Mm-hmm.
Which I mean, was that just a choice, like a design choice, or was it like the physics, like if you flip over too much, like we want to make sure that doesn't happen, so we'll make the levels more flat?
That might be more of an artifact of the AI, actually.
Really?
Yeah. So the way the AI system is set up, it's it doesn't have a 3D notion of the world. It has more of a 2D notion of the world, but like levels. So there's like a bottom 2D level, and then there's a route that takes it to a second floor 2D level, and these were all deconstructed as quad trees, which is a way of sort of representing a 2D space. So I think this was more that. Like this is a funny anecdote. We had an early on, like once he sort of started to get an idea of how he wanted to do the AI and started implementing the AI, an artist had already created, I think, a couple of these levels. We had a meeting, but it was still fairly early on, but far enough along that like we shouldn't be saying things like I'm about to tell you what he said. But as the end of the meeting, we kind of all talked about what we were talking about, and then he, in his very nonchalant way, not knowing what he said was a very profound thing to say, said, yeah, I think we're going to need to build these levels so they are all lined up on grids. And then, like, that was the end of the meeting. And, like, all the artists were like, wait, what? Wait, what did you just say? What did you just say? Are you kidding me? Like, because these things were all just going to look like squares and everything like that. But that's how his quad tree was set up. Like, quad trees are aligned on axes and grids and all this stuff. So that's just sort of give you the mindset of what the AI is doing here and why some of these are flat like that. It's for that reason. But
so, interesting. So that wasn't just like that wasn't you guys like, oh, we just want to make flat levels. Like it's literally like you had to because of the way the AI was programmed.
Yeah, I mean, and maybe the AI was programmed that way because we're like, hey, let's have a lot of flat spaces connected. But I think the AI definitely made it so that we had these restrictions for sure. It wasn't the physics. The physics was programmed to handle all sorts of. Once I had it so that we had a 3D mesh for collision, it didn't matter what that collision mesh looked like. It could have been as bumpy or as not. As far as the physics cared about. I mean, it might not be fun to drive over such a thing, but the physics could handle it. But the AI would not. That is really interesting because that's the other thing people complain a lot about with Twisted Metal 3 is just the level design is very flat. But it's interesting. There's actually a reason for it, and it wasn't just like
a choice of like, oh, let's just make flat levels. It's like you kind of just you were locked into it because of the programming.
Yeah. Well, and thankfully, that whole I think we need to put our levels on a grid kind of went away pretty quickly.
Yeah, with
I
Twisted
mean,
Metal 4, yeah.
yeah, this area looks like it's probably a little gridded, but we have a lot more organic looking levels. So I think somebody had a serious talk with him, like, Mike, no, we can't just have grid levels. Sorry, you're gonna have to deal with it.
So with Twisted Metal 4, when it came to that level design, like, was the AI like changed so you could have, because that game has way bigger levels, there are have more high grounds, more areas to go. Did anything have to change with the AI's programming to allow for that?
I don't think he did a lot of changing of AI. I mean, he would be able to speak to better than me, but I don't recall any major significant AI overhauls here. I mean, he definitely developed it further, but I think it was just, more incremental than full-blown overhauls. Because he actually, for Twisted Metal 3, I think AI was basically all he worked on. But in Twisted Metal 4, he was also having other major tasks as well. So he definitely was not working on AI the whole year like he was for Twisted Metal 3. So yeah, I don't think the AI had the any major overhaul for Twisted 4. Maybe he expanded it a bit for, whatever we needed for Twisted Metal 4 that it couldn't do Twisted 3. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a universal praise, I think, for Twisted Metal 3 and 4 is the AI's behavior. Because in the other games, like, it feels like you're the only person that ever gets attacked, and these ones feel like they're actually, like, they engage with each other and the player at the same time. So, like, they'll shoot you, and then they'll shoot the other enemy, then they'll go back to shooting you, and it feels more, I guess, immersive and like a PlayStation 1 standard of immersive.
Yeah. These AI cars are aware of each other. We were told early on in Twisted Metal 1 and 2, AI knew nothing of each other. If you ever saw AI attacking each other, it's because they happen to be on the same path going toward each other while happening to fire weapons. That's what we were told. I don't know how true that is.
I mean, from playing it, I can kind of see that, because they never attack you unless it's on accident, or they don't attack each other unless it's an accident.
Yeah. So in our case, yeah, he's like, oh, I'm not doing that. He's like, these AIs are going to be aware of each other and they're going to fight each other, and we'll have some variables to tweak to what extent that's happening so that, AI doesn't kill each other off so the player can just go hide somewhere and wait for the level to end, although I think that does sometimes happen.
Yeah, it does. It depends on your difficulty, but they always prioritize you. Like, if you're around, they'll always shoot you, but they still sometimes, like, shoot stray missiles at each other.
Yeah, for sure.
So it was definitely more interesting, I think. I really like the AI in these games more than the single track and incog games, just because of that reason alone.
Yeah.
It makes it more enjoyable overall, I would say.
Totally.
So, what is your favorite aspect about these two games?
I mean, I'm biased because I worked on the physics, but I love the physics of the games. What I had to do to get vehicles driving around a 3D mesh and figuring out how to do all that and get a reasonable frame rate out of it, and without having the advantages like, we can use floating point arithmetic now, but we couldn't then. This is all fixed point arithmetic with 12 bits of precision for the fractional part. Just to get all that working, I'm proud of, because this was me just a couple years in the industry with no training in game development or optimization or any of this stuff, and just sort of like, you got to figure this out because there is no Google to answer this for you. It's you and only you. So I think that's what kind of stands out for me. Some of these characters, I like some of the cars. Like this car, I think is cool. Firestarter, I used that car a lot during my testing, so I'm a little partial to that. Couple of levels I'm partial to because both used a lot in testing, but also I developed a lot of the interactivity in this. So like Junkyard. I love Junkyard. I'm the one that programmed the entirety of you blowing up the door in the middle to get at the crane, and now you can control the crane to pick up cars and drop the car. That was 100% like interactive code I wrote, and I figured out the system to get that working. Like all the interactive systems, like all these cars, not all these cars, some of these cars have code that are attached to them, so there's modules that get dynamically loaded. So if you don't have, like, so for example, the treads on Minion, I had to program those treads to scroll, so it looks like they're moving on the ground. But I didn't want that code in the engine. I didn't want that code to always, like if you don't have Minion on a particular level, I don't want that code taking up memory that could be used for something else. So I came up with like a DLL system. On Windows, it's called a DLL system. So these modules that are only loaded up when they need to be. So there's a Junkyard module. There's a Minion module. So developing these sort of dynamic systems, I was pretty proud of. And, not interesting from the gameplay standpoint, but from the sort of tech and engine standpoint, they were pretty cool at the time. Like those are pretty advanced things for PlayStation 1 at the time.
Yeah, because the crane, at least for the Twisted Metal series, was pretty innovative, honestly, at least for the series, like to be able to control something like that, because no other game beforehand allowed you to get into something and pick a car up. So it definitely, like, it's somewhat innovated, at least like in a level, well, at least one level did. So it was really cool. And that was your idea, like the whole thing, like even picking it, like to put the crane there in the first place?
I don't think it was my idea, but maybe somebody asked, do you think we could do blah? And I'm like, let me think about this a bit. Let me think about what I can do and what I can develop this into. And, maybe some aspects of it were mine, but like I think just the general idea probably didn't come from me, but the entire implementation of it definitely was me.
It was definitely like a lot of people's favorite aspect of the game, honestly, and the construction yard's a nice level too. I think it's one of the best levels in the game, honestly. I think it turned out really well. It's a really fun level, so at least
that may have been early on too. That might have been one of our first levels, if not the first level that we started working on, so that probably got most developed.
Yeah, of course. So the last question that I have is Twisted Metal 5. Was that like actually on the table as a game?
So, kind of funny story about that. So we left Sony in 2000, maybe 4 months after we shipped this to start our own company. And around that time, I think Small Brawl came out. I think like I saw it in the shelf in GameStop. I'm like, what? Like I hadn't heard of this existing or coming out or anything, and which was shocking because it's like I was working at Sony when this had to have been worked on. It's very strange I would not have heard of this. And this was after like when I was still at Sony before quitting, like after Twisted Metal 4, we're like, oh, we're all moving on to PS2. Everything's PS2. We're giving up PS1. Nobody's doing PS1 anymore. PS1's dead, blah, blah, blah. So when Twisted Metal Small Brawl came out, I'm like, wait a minute, is there an opportunity here for maybe a Twisted Metal 5? Like, we were trying to get a contract with the company to do a game, and I'm like, well, what better pitch than to, hey, the guys that know the Twisted Metal 4 code base in and out, like 3 of us programmers of that Twisted Metal code base left Sony to start a company. Like, we could get that code and make a Twisted Metal 5 before the end of the year, no problemo. So we actually put together a pitch, a proposal document, and talked to Alan Becker of the Santa Monica studio. Like initially we sent him an email asking him, hey, what do you think of blah? And he's like, hey, yeah, let's do a phone call on blah date at blah time. So, I mean, we got as far as a phone call with him. It didn't get much further than that though, but the fact that it got that far at all, was interesting and potentially promising. But sadly, it did not happen.
I'm shocked, honestly. I figured they'd want to do Twisted Metal 5. I mean, I know it's Small Brawl did. I mean, clearly you didn't know about the release of it, so it's like it didn't sell very well. Even though I still think it's, in my opinion, it's one of the best games in the series. I think it's a really good
I
game.
liked it. I picked it up and played it a fair bit. I didn't play it as much as Twisted Metal Black, but I probably played it maybe the third most of the Twisted Metal games. I thought it was pretty cool, and for me, it was promising enough that, like, you know what, I could see a Twisted Metal 5, because I think at that point I did know about Twisted Metal Black coming out for PS2, and I'm like, but I think this small brawl, I could envision a world where Twisted Metal 5 on PS1 could still be a thing, even though Twisted Metal Black was coming.
Yeah, because Small Brawl came out after Black did, which is interesting. Came out.
Oh, did it?
Yeah, it came out like 6 months afterwards, which is interesting. They probably didn't want to release it on PS2, I think, because they wanted to avoid competing with their own game.
Yeah,
but
that could be.
Because obviously, you know, Goodrich he worked on Small Brawl, of course. So,
yeah, that's cool.
So I believe he said before that he wouldn't mind working on a Twisted Metal game again. Honestly.
Oh, I totally would. Yeah, I would be all in for that. That would be an awesome project that I would totally go back to.
Yeah, everything always comes back to Small Brawl somehow. It's a good game. It's definitely one of the better ones. I loved the level creativity. That was the thing that stand out to me the most. It was just like how creative the level designs were. I don't know if you remember any of them from the last time you played it, but
I remember like the sandbox, the playground stuff. Yeah, I remember some of it. Yeah.
Yeah, and the level where you have to shoot the napalm up the plumber's ass and it blows open an area. Just stuff like that.
I don't remember, but that's cool.
yeah, it was definitely a funny little thing they stuck into the game there.
Yeah.
But okay, so with the TV show, do you like the TV show? Like, I know you didn't finish it yet, but like when you started watching it, like, did you actually were pleasantly surprised? Like, wow, this is actually not bad. Like, this is pretty entertaining. Like,
it's decent. Like, I'm. It's hard for me to wrap my mind around the fact that is Twisted Metal. I think they've done a good job. Like, it so far the story seems good. The comedy is good. The production values seem really good. I mean, it looks like they spent a fair bit of money on this. I mean, this isn't cheesy. I mean, it's not cheesy in the way that it could have easily have been. I mean, it's cheesy in the way that they're trying to be a comedy.
Yeah.
But I like it. I'm still trying to, in my brain, connect that with the games that I worked on and the games that I played, because it's not, they're doing their own thing, obviously. Like, I couldn't envision, when I heard that was a thing, I'm like, how are they going to do this? This is going to suck. This is going to make no sense. But what they did made it make sense.
Yeah, you know, I would definitely agree with that.
The whole, running product between point A and point B, and, stories around that in a post-apocalyptic or whatever world. Like, oh yeah, all right, you could totally have a series with that. Absolutely no problem. But I dig it. Yeah, I'll totally finish out the series. It'd be cool if they made a game based on the series. Like a story-based car combat game would be awesome. That would be pretty cool if they could pull that off.
Yeah, for sure.
But yeah, no, I dig it. We'll definitely finish watching it.
Okay, so I don't know how much time you have left. Like, did you need to leave?
I probably have to eat dinner soonish. I could maybe do like another 5 minutes.
Okay. So I just wanted to open up the for anyone in the chat that has any questions that they want to ask. Before.
Yeah, I hadn't been watching the chat, but there's probably been like a million questions.
There's been a couple questions. They were questions I was already going to get to. A few of them were like about Twisted Metal 5, cut characters, stuff like that.
Yeah.
Let me see if I can find anyone, or if anybody has a specific question ready to go. Okay, let me see. Phil says, would Primeval have had a story in Twisted Metal 3 or even as a playable character? Like, because when I use them as like Game Shark cheats, they do have unique passwords, which I thought was interesting.
So the way Game Shark works, it's basically, it's called a Game Shark code, but it is a, the code consists of a memory address and a value to put at that memory address. And probably in Twisted Metal 3, I had implemented like an array of Boolean values that said whether or not this character is playable, this character is playable, this character isn't playable. So I'm guessing that GameShark code probably pokes a 1 value into the memory address where Primeval's, playability is set to false, and putting a 1 in there sets it to true.
Yeah.
As to whether it would have had, what was the question about it having a story or something?
Yeah, like a story or playable, like an actual playable character. Like, was it planned?
So, a couple things on that. That character or that boss came very late in the project. It's also a massive vehicle. So the reason why Darkseid and that character are not playable without a GameShark code, I think, is because it shows off like the fact that it can, the physics will get cars caught on corners. Like if it's going off of a ledge, sometimes the back corners of the car, can get stuck on there and the car can kind of hang. That can happen with the normal sized cars, but with the huge cars, you can get yourself into even worse trouble with those things. And I think that was determined early on, like, yeah, these big cars, because of how our physics is set up, it wasn't designed for big cars. We don't want these playable by people because they're going to get themselves stuck up on things, and this is just going to make the game look bad, all the time, type of thing. So I think that was really the thinking behind those. But I think in particular with Primeval, there just wasn't enough time to even develop anything with that. No painting, no, nothing for that thing.
Yeah, especially because
in
the manual it says that he's too busy torturing souls to show up because you didn't have time to create the character. So
yeah, exactly. So yeah, and never mind get an ending movie made for him and all this stuff. Because those were also all those ending movies were outsourced to a company here in San Diego, and those had lead time and all that stuff. Like there was just no way.
Oh, okay. Because someone actually asked who animated the endings of 3 and 4, like who did all the artwork for them, and
yeah, that was a company called VSI, Visionscape Interactive, I think. I don't know if they still exist. Like I knew those people pretty well. That was Tammy and Matt McDonald that ran that company. Yeah, they did all the 3D sort of, pre-rendered stuff for our games. They did a lot of work with Sony for that type of stuff. But yeah, they would. So sometimes you'll notice a difference between a character that shows up in an ending movie and the painting of that character or whatever. That's because either things changed or we didn't have a painting ready yet, and they just kind of made up something. Like things happened at such different times that they ended up being different. Or maybe something didn't match in the manual that ended up in the game because there's months of lead time to get those manuals printed and all that stuff.
Yeah. So did they do they did the manuals as well? Like that had nothing to do with you guys?
They didn't. I only just used the manual as example of like lead time. I actually don't know who did the manual. Maybe Sony Marketing did that or something. But no, those guys only purely did 3D pre-rendered stuff. That was kind of their specialty at that time.
Okay. This one's more. What were you gonna say?
Go ahead. I was gonna say we had so for Twisted Metal 4, they did the ending movies, but all those images you see in the menuing system, those like background images, the different, new game, whatever options, that was done by an entirely different company. That was, I remember who that was that did that. Some company, I want to say, in Seattle. So we had a couple different art houses that were working for us on Twisted Metal 4.
Interesting. Cause I'm not sure how the endings of Twisted Metal 2 were made. I mean, I'm assuming they were outsourced. At least I can assume that, but I don't know. I doubt they were made in-house, so.
Yeah, I have no idea either.
Okay, this is more probably interesting thing for you. What was your favorite game object to code? Asked by Web of Music.
What was my favorite game object code, and what was the last part?
No, I was just saying who said the question. Web of Music said the question. Yeah. Like, what was your favorite thing to code? And
I mean, the obvious thing is the car, but that's probably the obvious thing. What else did I code? Because I didn't really do the weapons. Oh, you know what I did? I did. It was cool. So I didn't do most of the weapons, but I got the base bullets and rocket stuff working that other people could use as a basis for getting more specific rockets working. So I got a generic projectile working. I thought that was cool because I got it working in a way that both the machine gun bullets and the rockets are using the same core code for moving through the world. This way, if we needed to fix a bug with something, everything would get fixed. You know, all the rockets and the bullets would all inherit the fix or the optimization. That was cool. I would say, but maybe the visually coolest one that I thought I got working. This was something I wanted to get working on Twisted Metal 3, specifically on this level. Those the Hollywood level where there's like water, but like I think we wanted that to be flammable. We didn't get that working. Twisted Metal 4, I'm the one that got the napalm when it hits like the
green
water
pools.
Stuff. Like,
yeah,
it goes out in a circle.
Oh.
It spreads out. The fire spreads out in like a circle that grows and adds more flames to it as the circle gets bigger. That was me. That was probably the coolest thing object that I think I had worked on.
Oh yeah, I would say it looks cool.
Yeah, that was neat. Sort of figuring out, all right, you know, how as I spread out a circle, do I add more things evenly and you know, do it in an efficient way? Because you know, if you get enough of those things, it'll slow down your frame rate. Because again, we go back to, you know, flames are semi-transparent, and PlayStation doesn't like semi-transparencies. So I just sort of figure out a way to make it as optimal as I could. And then allocating and deallocating memory is also not super fast on PlayStation. So how can I do that in an efficient manner, add more of them, and then as it got to the edge of the green pool, make them get deleted and all that stuff. So just figuring all that stuff out was kind of cool. That might have been my favorite one.
Okay. Oh, that's actually a good question by Deva. He says, why was Shield removed in Twisted Metal 3?
Removed from what? Twisted Metal 2? Because
it wasn't included, and then you guys re-included it in Twisted Metal 4. So
yeah, we just didn't have time to add it to Twisted Metal 3 because again, we started from scratch. We didn't start with Twisted Metal 2 code and remove Shield. We just had Twisted Metal. We had Kart World Series code that didn't have Shield yet. We never had time to add it until Twisted Metal 4.
Okay, so it's basically most of the stuff, like a lot of the questions can be answered as we didn't have time. As I see, like that's what I've gotten a lot of, like that I've kind of put together is just like you guys just couldn't really put as much as you wanted to into it because you just couldn't, like you didn't have time.
Yeah, I mean the biggest thing to understand is that we didn't remove anything. We just didn't have time to add certain things.
Yes, that you wanted to. Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty much it. Yeah, if you look up Kart World Series, CART World Series, it's like an F1 style racing game. If you look up videos of that, that was the starting code base we had on January 3rd or 4th, whatever that Monday was in 1998 when we started Twisted Metal 3. That was our starting point, was exactly that game.
Yeah, that's why you had the speedometer from the game on the side of the screen.
Yeah, exactly.
In that early build.
Yeah. So imagine molding that into, you know, what we're watching on the stream right now. So we had to, you know, remove Formula One cars, add back in more 3D physics. I had to go to more 2D physics for that game, add more of the 3D physics from Rallycross, and then figure out a way to, because those are also flat tracks in Kart World Series, because that's how open-wheeled racing car games are. You know, but we wanted a more 3D environment. So add, you know, colliding, being able to drive and navigate and collide around a 3D environment. Also add AI for that. Oh, there's no weapons in Kart World Series because, you know, cars don't typically shoot each other in the real world. So now we have to add weapon system. So yeah, I mean, it adds up, you know, greatly once you realize, oh, we got to add this, that, the other thing.
Yeah.
So yeah, no, we would have loved to add all these things. I'm sure Shield was talked about for this, but just didn't have time because you need to come up with, you know, the system for it, the effect. Just it's not like this is 5 minutes to add type of thing, you know.
Yeah, of course. Someone asks, with the bosses in Twisted Metal 4, were those ever intended to have?
Somebody just had a wild idea, maybe over the summer. Hey, let's have per level bosses to take this to the next level, as it were.
at that point, I think it was way too late to come up with bios or try to figure out, because those, like, even Moonbuggy was massive. Like, I couldn't even imagine trying to have that as a player controlled vehicle in our
I know,
physics system.
Moonbuggy was a playable character.
Was it?
Yeah, all the bosses in the game are playable.
As
It
the
is a big
original
car.
size, though? Okay.
Yeah, it's the same size as
Yeah.
the boss. Like you can put like a bunch of them in the battlefield if you want. I mean, it will probably fry the PS1 on the hardware, but you can do it if you want.
All right, your memory's better than mine on this, yeah, because I haven't played this game in like probably 15 years or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, they just came so late in the project, there was no time for any kind of bios or anything like that. Whatever other content needed to be added.
So Nick asks, was hyperspace added in the Twisted Metal 4 as a failsafe for getting stuck? Which is the ability to teleport, if you don't remember.
No, I do. I don't think that was a fail-safe for getting stuck. I think they legitimately wanted that as a feature in the game.
Okay,
Yeah, I don't think that was the reason for that, no.
So I thought it was an interesting, thing to have in the game because it just teleports you out, and it does help for when you get stuck, because that does happen in Twisted Metal 4. You kind of clip into the corner, and you get stuck sometimes. So
Yeah.
it does help, like, fix yourself and just reorient yourself back into the battle again.
The only thing I added code-wise to sort of help with something like that, not quite getting stuck, was I would detect if the car was in some kind of weird state, because I have 5 points associated with this car. So each of the corners on the ground, and then one point near the top of the car in the middle. So it looks like a pyramid shape. So I would detect, is this thing kind of getting a weird and non-pyramid looking squashed state, and then I would try to pop you out to try to reconfigure you into a pyramid shape. So there was like stabilization code basically, and I don't think it would always kick in. And if like you were legitimately stuck in a corner, probably there was nothing I could do about it with that code anyway. So yeah, I mean, I also, our testers tested this game for a number of months times however many people, and then now the game's been out for 25 years times way more people, way more hours. Our testers may not have even found like some of these stuck situations that people will find now, because way more finger quote testers have played the game now.
Yeah, like there's a bug with Twisted Metal 4, for example. Like if you rear attack when you don't have an item in your inventory, it will just use the item that you last had. Even though you don't have anything in your inventory, like it will still use. That's how people speed run, because they use it with lightning. They'll make sure the lightning's the last weapon, and then they'll keep rear attacking over and over and over, and like lightning will just keep coming out every time.
Yeah, I could see that being a very easy bug to have made.
Yeah, that's.
And I know whose bug it is. Bill, can you fix it?
Yeah. So, because I know you said you had to eat. So one last question, and then we're done. How did you guys manage to get Rob Zombie as a character? It says King Boo Studios.
I was not privy to whatever background, to his publicist or to him conversations had to happen with that. I don't know anything about that. I just assume probably he was a fan of the idea of this series. I'd be surprised if he actually played Twisted Metal. But maybe he did. Yeah, I don't know. I wish I knew about that. Like, I wish I met the guy. The closest thing was I got an early release version of his album on CD. That was it.
Yeah, for the music tracks, and because you guys reused his music in Twisted Metal 4, you did the remix of Dragula and the remix of Super Beast.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know who did that. I mean, that wasn't. Maybe our sound guys did that, or I don't know if Rob Zombie's crew had given us some remix. Yeah, I'm kind of curious of those, because I now that I know a little bit better how licensing of music and stuff works, I'm kind of curious how those songs came to be, because there definitely would be levels of approval that would need to happen for those things to happen.
because he's the only guest character that's ever been in the series. Because I mean, I guess it is actually him. I don't know if he did the voice acting though. I honestly don't know about that part.
No way. There's no chance that was him. That'd be awesome. But
oh, definitely.
No, that was
that definitely would have been cool. But
yeah, totally.
Since you gotta eat, you had your long day. I appreciate you coming. It's crazy. It's that no one's ever really approached you to do, especially when they've done Twisted Metal retrospective series. They never even thought to approach you. They usually only get the Jaffe side.
Yeah, I think I saw that video not too long ago, and I was even thinking, there's literally no one, never mind the programmers and the artists, nobody in the marketing, nobody in the producer, career track that was on Twisted Metal 3 or 4 were a part of those talks at all. And like many of us know tons of information about those things, and questions were being asked and answers were being supposed, and it's like, but I know the answers to these questions. Like, why do they not seek out actual people?
I said the same thing about Small Brawl as well. It's like, Dave has all the answers. So he worked on the game. He was there. Like, he may not remember everything, but the big things he's going to remember. So it's like, it's just a shame people don't contact you, because it's not like you're trying to contact the president. Like, it's a little crazy.
I'm just a Joe Schmo. Like, maybe the TV series will have a new retrospective come out on the games, and maybe they'll actually seek people out. But I'm open to this. If you want to do this again about other things, the questions that didn't get asked or whatever, I'm totally open. I think this is pretty cool.
Yeah, just to get your side out, because it's people don't know a lot of these things about Twisted Metal 3 and 4, because there's some people that they still just assume, they're like, oh, they just intentionally ruined the Twisted Metal series by making Twisted Metal 3, and it's like, there's a lot more that goes into it than just no one's trying to sabotage the game. Like,
yeah, as if we're purposely trying to make a shitty game.
Like, they just don't understand.
That's what my career desires have always been, to just destroy a series.
Apparently, that's how some people see it, and it's crazy, but
I know.
But maybe we will again. It depends. We'll see what happens. But I really appreciate you coming on. It's a great time, honestly, to get a lot of answers to these questions.
No problem. Thanks for having me on. It's been awesome.
Oh yeah, no problem. I hope you have a great dinner.
Cool. Thanks, man.
Just take care.
Yep. Take care. See you.
That was a very eventful time. That was amazing. It was a great, it was so much insight, that's the most important thing. There's so much insight. So much insight of stuff that people don't know about these games. Kruger, thank you for the 5. Bless the person who created the Flower Power zoom in sheet on our bio. That was Jim who created that, by the way. He was the one that made that cheat. He explained a lot about that earlier. There were some things we had a good time. There's a lot of stuff I didn't know. I actually thought the game, I thought the physics or the level design rather was a design choice, but apparently it's literally just because the AI couldn't handle driving on levels that weren't flat. Like, it was interesting. It's like just to figure stuff like that out. I honestly thought it was a choice, but no, it was just they couldn't. There's a lot of stuff to take from it. A lot of stuff. How did Egypt work then? Well, I'm not. I mean, I could have doubled down on Egypt. There's no footage of the original one, but just seeing how that, I guess the level is maybe a little bit more, flat, I guess, compared to what it was before. It was giant beforehand. And then they made it a little kind of have a little bit of hills and stuff. But it's just for machine guns in terms of damage. Yeah, it's that, unfortunately. I wish that was asked while he was here, because I'm genuinely curious of why they were so weak. Honestly. Because, I mean, I've been talking to Jim. I talked to him in DMs quite a bit. Like, I've acquainted with Jim at this point, because I've done a little bit more than just, have this conversation with him. It was more hill. It was all hills, but I'm saying like comparatively to what they originally had. We get Jaffe, Dave and Jaffe interviews. The Scott Campbell interviews never. That's never gonna happen. He's long gone in Twisted Metal. He doesn't give a shit anymore. He's all out mobile games. That's all Scott works on now. He doesn't care about Twisted Metal. People have tried to contact him, but he won't respond. He doesn't care anymore. That's all I can assume, at least. I mean, maybe he does care deep down, but not anymore. And I think him and Jaffe actually had a falling out, so I don't think he would really care to be a part of that. No. It's unfortunate. Super, super unfortunate. Don't like the answer, though. Yeah, so some of the answers, I mean, sometimes the answers are rough, but it's the truth. So it's like that's the thing. Scott left the industry to work on game flying sport equipment. That's Jim. Jim does that. He works on at Amazon stuff, on some Amazon stuff. It's interesting. Even though he did say he would work on another Twisted Metal game, which is crazy to think that we now have Dave and then we now have Jim that both said they would work on a Twisted Metal game again. Two people that worked on some of the games originally. Which is crazy that both of them said they would work on a Twisted Metal game again. So, and unfortunately, what pisses me off is my splitter did not come. So I can't play 2012. That was the plan afterwards. I can't play that because it doesn't work. Hello, Ordum. Scott, yes, Scott does. He does mobile games. Scott, that's what Scott's doing. But no one can get a hold of him, unfortunately. So it's kind of just like a failed point to even bother anymore. TM will be back. It definitely will be, especially with the success of the TV show. Absolutely. TV show was massively successful, which is interesting. It's definitely more successful than I thought it would be. TM with all the teams together would be crazy. Yeah, I know. Imagine you have Dave and Jim convince Jaffe to work on a Twisted Metal game. Like, imagine that. It would be a conflict of interest, I think, like how they would work. But it would be cool if they all teamed up and made a game. It would work. Reed Jaffe had a lot of ego. Most couldn't stand him until he made Twisted Metal 1. Interesting. Thank you, Jimmy. I appreciate it. That was the first one for both of us. I mean, I said to him it was crazy that nobody ever tried to contact him to do an interview. Like, nobody. Like, it's a shame. Like, no one on the team either, which is wild. It's like it's kind of like a, I mean, I guess I would see it as an insult, honestly. Like, 'cause it's like it's not like he's contacting the president, you know what I mean? Like, it wasn't terribly difficult to get in contact with Jim. So it's like if some of these retrospective series, like they don't even talk to him. There's like, oh, Twisted Metal 3 and 4 are just awful. They just suck balls. They're just bad games, and these guys are like ruining the series. And then you got the mouth breathers come out and they're like, yeah, they destroyed the whole franchise. They destroyed the whole thing. And it's like, that's not what happened. Like, that's not what was going on. And like, it's just a shame no one contacted them. It's like he gave valuable information that has never been shared, that people don't even know about. Like, it's like, especially with the level design in this game, there's so much insight on that, of just that alone, of like how these levels were created. Like, it was just ridiculous. Like it just pisses me off because it's like I think Jim's a nice guy, and it's like that's just a shame. It's pissing me off that no one ever tried to do it because they're just like, oh, David Jaffe's the only one that knows. It's like, no, there's other people. Feel this pain about not getting the M2 engine. It does suck. Like people. That's another complaint. People say it's like this feels nothing like the Twisted Metal 2 single track games, and it's like, well, you blame the people that you love so much. Like that's the reason that they didn't have the source code, because single track harbored that. That's their source code. That's their own. Like that, it's not anyone else's fault. Like that's all Sony's contractual writing was shit. And that's why they couldn't do it. That's the reason. Just they wanted to hide the source code, and then now, of course, time goes on. I'm pretty sure they're like, we want those source codes. We need those source codes. He did sound a little bit hurt. It's because it sucks, you know. It's like he has so much information about Twisted Metal, so much, and it's nice to see that it's like he got to share some of it here. He shared most of like all the big stuff, I would say. Oh yeah, no problem, Crash. I did like a pseudo one in a video I made with 989, like, because I actually think these games. I don't think these games are trash. Like I saw someone comment earlier, can you ask him why the games are so bad? I'm like, you're fucking idiot. You're stupid as fuck, dude. Like I'm not asking him that question. Like I don't know why you'd even ask me to ask him that question, you fucking moron. Like why would you say that? Like like seriously, man. Like I'm not asking him that question. Because I had a little interview with him. I saw it earlier. It's because I had to look into the chat through my I was actually gonna to send you a message to ban him, but because I couldn't do it because I was like, dude, like that's disrespectful, man. But it's nice to get all that information and stuff. He's still a fan of the franchise and when he gets to work on one. Gets a shaft. Yeah, and he actually wanted to make Twisted Metal 5, which is the question I had. He told me a little bit about it a couple weeks ago, because I had a little conversation with him. I got into a call with him like 30 minutes before we started, and I talked to him a little bit about Rallycross, which if you're interested in game development, actually, wait, I think I can link the video right now. If you're interested in game development, there is a video he has that's actually really good about it. It's about how he designed the physics engines for Rallycross, Twisted Metal 3, and Twisted Metal 4. I'll have to pin it later. So I'll make a comment and I'll pin it. It's a great video though. It's on his channel. I think it's his most viewed video. It's an hour-long talk he did. He did like a little talk about his physics and how he did it. So it's pretty interesting. If you're interested in game development. Because he explains everything and how it works. So, which is pretty cool. During the state, they had such short time. Yeah, I know. That's what I'm saying. Like, and especially because that physics engine for Twisted Metal 3, he did that like by himself. With no, like, he was still a rookie developer, and he did all that by himself. Like, all of the whole game's physics was just a one-man army. That's what I called him before we started the stream. I called him a one-man army, because I'm like, you literally did all of this by yourself. The whole thing. Like, that's crazy. Doing all of that. Like, it's nuts. It's like it's hard, you know. It's like trying to do everything by yourself is not easy. Well, I want to play these games right now. I can't play Twisted Metal 2012, and I'm pissed. Like, I was not happy. I'm probably gonna play the Twisted Metal 4 mod though, in honor of Jim. Like, just in honor of him. He was here. Like, that mod is awesome. The one that's created by Pedro. Great mod. Probably gonna have to change title here. Cause I'm happy though. That was a success. That was a good time. I might cut that down for people, and upload it later because there's might be certain tidbits that people probably like. I would try to get the more interesting pieces because I think there's stuff that people would be interested in. Certain highlights, especially about the physics, stuff like that. See, I can't change the. Oh wait, no, I can't. I was gonna say if I can't change the thumbnail, I'm not gonna be happy right now. Change. I don't want it to be misleading for people that don't want to see the mod. Because I was like, why not? I'll play this for a little bit. Twisted 4 mod. I like how it's just called childhood mod. Like that's what I like to see. Anyways, yeah, I wanted to make the music track a little bit more, I would say mellow, instead of it being more like crazy. Oh shit, I need to change the audio. I forgot. I had him turned up super loud, and if I change the window to that, oh my, that shit
Battery
hurt.
40%.
That would kill. That would kill the ears, my friend. Like, holy shit. That would fucking destroy ears. Like, oh my god. I just thought about that.